This is Adelaide's FIVEaa.
Sunny today and a top of 27 with the 6 o'clock news. I'm Mel Usher.
FIVEaa Extra is a registered NDIS provider, so let them support you in achieving your goals. FIVEaAextra.com.
The long weekend on our roads drew to a close last night with a serious crash at Brukanga in the Adelaide Hills. Emergency services were called to Pirates Road around 5:30. A vehicle slammed into a tree just north of the township. Charges have been laid following a house fire at Para Hills. The blaze damaged a Todd Road home in the early hours of yesterday morning. A 46-year-old man from the house suffered minor smoke inhalation. A 43-year-old local man was arrested nearby and will front court today. The University of Queensland is reportedly working to revive its coronavirus vaccine formula. Local trials were abandoned last year after some patients recorded false positive HIV results. Meantime, Australia's failure to secure multiple COVID vaccine deals is being blamed for the rollout slowing down. The federal government missed its target of 4 million doses by the end of March, and Professor Richard Holden says the problem could have been avoided.
We didn't get into contracts, as many other countries did, with other providers like Moderna, who have a vaccine basically as good as Pfizer and doesn't require the kind of very low temperature refrigeration. We didn't bother to try and cut a deal with them.
Holidays in New Zealand will soon be an option. Nine's Brian Wilson explains.
New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern is expected to announce the start date for the quarantine-free two-way travel bubble between Australia and New Zealand today. Airline booking systems show April 12 or 19 as the most likely commencement dates. The travel corridor will require 6 separate controls to be met, including contact tracing, management of transit passengers and response procedures in the event of an outbreak.
Coronavirus restrictions are set to be wound back in England, but the Prime Minister says it's too soon to start planning a summer holiday abroad. The country is introducing some freedoms from next week as non-essential businesses are given the green light to reopen. But Boris Johnson says the UK will begin testing a COVID status certification system, which will consist of 3 checks.
If you had the virus before, in the last, or certainly in the last 6 months, you'll have the antibodies. Number 2, obviously, is vaccination status. But number 3 is testing. And testing really is valuable.
The earth has been moving in Los Angeles. A series of earthquakes has rocked the city and surrounds. The biggest tremor clocking in at 4 on the Richter scale and was centred near LAX. Aftershocks are still being recorded. There are no reports of damage or injuries. And LG is walking away from mobile phones, abandoning plans to launch rollable and flexible mobile technology. The South Korean tech giant has a 2% share of the global smartphone market. Now to FIVEaa Sport.
3 words make a big difference to our local dairy farmers. Flurio Milk Company. In your supermarket now.
And it's good morning to Tom Wren.
And a very good morning to you as well, Mel. Port Adelaide midfielder Sam Palpepper has returned to training after spending a month away from the club after taking personal leave. He won't be considered for selection this weekend, but could return to playing as early as next week. Meantime, Geelong has held on for its second win of the season after beating Hawthorn by 5 points in another Easter Monday nail-biter. Cats coach Chris Scott says it wasn't easy.
It was hard fought, and we gave them, I thought, some looks late, and we didn't quite play the way we'd like to. So it'd be a mistake to look at it and think, what are you doing? Because we were sort of looking at it and thinking, what are we doing as well? But good enough to hang in there.
Well, Melbourne City has closed the gap on Central Coast at the top of the A-League, now 2 points behind after a 3-2 win over Wellington. Western United, meantime, has beaten Newcastle 1-0. Meantime, in the English Premier League, Everton and Crystal Palace have played out a 1-1 draw, while West Ham currently holds a 3-1 lead against Wolverhampton with about half hour to play. And in some golf to finish, Brooks Koepka is backing himself to take out and win the US Masters just 3 weeks after having knee surgery. And that's the FIVEaa Sport.
Now the FIVEaa forecast.
Audi Solitaire, Metro Dealer of the Year. Visit audisolitaire.com.au.
Sunny today and 27, sunny tomorrow 28, Thursday partly cloudy 31. Right now it's 11 degrees. More news as it happens on FIVEaa.
At Bob Jane T-Marts, there's deals for safer holiday driving. Visit bobjane.com.au. You're listening to FIVEaa Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
Well, 6:05, good morning to you. Welcome to Tuesday on 5AA Breakfast. Trust you had a terrific, long Easter weekend. Back for the working week to guide you through with all the big subjects that matter this morning. Tim Lester will join us from the US. They administered some 4 million vaccines in a single day the other day. We'll talk to him about that. And our own vaccine rollout with Dr. Chris Moy from the AMA after 7 o'clock. We've fallen just shy of that. We were aiming for 4 million by March and just missed it by 3.4 million. But other than that, it's all going magnificently. Dr. Chris Moy after 7 o'clock to talk about the rollout. But importantly, and this is something we've attempted to do right throughout this process, there needs to be a degree of public confidence in it. So we will talk with him about the case of blood clotting in a man who received the vaccine. The AMA have said it is a factor. We'll talk to him about what that means for everyone who's yet to get it after 7 today. Phil Curry in the nation's capital will join us. We'll talk about another case over the weekend where ambulance officers say because their resources are tied up elsewhere, they couldn't get to an incident happened at Counter Bay and saved someone's life. That's all on the program this morning. David Penberthy, good morning to you.
Good morning, Will. Good morning, listeners. I've got to say that it feels almost wrong to be talking about hard news. I reckon the number one thing everyone is going to say when they get to work today, to the extent that people still go into work, is, what about that weather? What about that weather? It was absolute star of the show. I think that anyone who had the Easter weekend off would still be on a high about it. It was like this little... I just can't even find the words to describe how good it was.
Well, it's hard to believe that season's almost ending. You know, the beach season.
It was like the perfect summer weekend.
It felt like the perfect summer weekend.
Today's going to be great as well.
Yeah.
Like it's good for most of this week. There'll be a few lucky folks who are actually on leave and have taken the entire week off with school holidays and what have you. But we spent the whole weekend down at Aldinga, and I've got to say, just as far as beach weather goes and water temperature, absolutely perfect.
Yeah, we were at Port Wollonga yesterday. It was just couldn't have been a better day for it.
I reckon everyone who had a boat was out on the weekend too.
Yeah, well, it was just like glass.
We had the shark alarm go off on Saturday.
Really?
Yeah, we just got home.
Like a real alarm or a false alarm?
No, it was a shark alarm.
What did they find?
It was certainly going, whoo, like as in, I don't know. I've looked online. I couldn't see anything.
Usually, SAPOL will tweet out information about shark sightings.
I did a search, and unless it was some other alarm.
The giant octopus alarm.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the Kraken alarm.
It was the Kraken alarm.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to talking to the AMA about the vaccine situation. Obviously, it's not for Dr. Chris Moy to talk about the politics of it, but I can't think of a lower point for the look of our politicians in Australia.
Yeah.
Over this. Like yesterday, that dingbat deputy premier in Queensland came out and said that the way the Prime Minister's handling it is like a deliberate ploy to distract from the Brittany Higgins case. Like, I mean, given that I think the Prime Minister's handling it appallingly badly, but what was that theory from the Queensland MP that is deliberately doing it this way to distract? Just the orgy of name-calling and finger-pointing. Yeah. Mercifully, our state, South Australia, has been a standout in not getting involved in the mudslinging. But the rest of them, and be it Labor or Liberal, doesn't make any difference. Brad Hazzard, New South Wales, calling for an apology. The Queenslanders shooting their mouths off about it. Dan Andrews, people coming out. Like, how about you just get on with your day jobs and fix the damn problem?
What is the absolute inverse of the handling of the crisis when COVID first happened last year, where irrespective of the hue of the government, be they Labor or Liberal, universally, constituents thought they were doing a great job. We saw it in Western Australia when Mark McGowan returned with a record margin. But the view across the spectrum in Australia was it didn't matter what party you were from, politicians were doing an excellent job. That was the view all of last year.
Yeah. It
is flipped entirely on its head. It's hard to find a winner. It's embarrassing. 4 million in a day they did in the US.
Yeah. No, it's pathetic. It's pathetic. And again, the people who are trying to make a quid, running a bar or a coffee shop or a restaurant or people in tourism who are desperate to get things back on track, they know how urgent this is. Because as you've used the term before, Will, the virus, it's vaccinating us against economic pain.
Oh, well, to anyone who wonders about...
The vaccine.
That's right. To anyone who wonders about what the impetus is for this anger and the anguish that's felt in the community, imagine being a retailer in Brisbane in the last week. Need to close your doors again.
Yeah.
As JobKeeper ends. Imagine being someone who's on JobKeeper.
Before Easter, which is a huge weekend for so many people.
That's right. And there will be these flare-ups. There will be these flare-ups because that's what we've come to expect. We've never closed borders. We allow people to come back into the country as we should, Australian citizens, and we care for them. We've got a guy in the RAR at the moment who's in a critical condition in his 40s, sort of reminding everyone that remember back at the start of this thing, it's actually kind of serious, this whole COVID virus in and of itself. But we're going to have these flare-ups until such a time as everyone's vaccinated. So go tell someone who had to close their doors and sack someone in the last week that there's no urgency.
Yeah, 100%.
11 after 6, 8223 0000 is the number. Geez, we're getting some nice text weather-wise this morning. Is it Mark from Para Hills who sent us through a picture?
Yeah, the...
no, it's not. It's
Dave from Golden Grove.
Dave from Golden Grove.
That's a photo of Harper's Field Oval. Sun coming up there.
Beautiful.
Mark in Para Hills said, morning, guys. I was around on Port River, Outer Harbour and Garden Island and Torrens Island to St Kilda kayaking on Sunday. Beautiful smooth water, ripper weather, caught some fish. Excellent.
Good way to spend the weekend. 8223 0000 is the number. You can text us your thoughts on the Telstra Storm Out Barker text line or shoot us your great sunrise photos or weather shots that you've got, or you can watch along on the 5AA Facebook or YouTube live streams. We're going to be getting into the news headlines right after this.
Honey.
Beads.
Cutting keys.
Number crunching.
Smelly cheese.
Whatever small business you're in, Australia Post is here to support it. You can make deposits and withdrawals at your local post office. If you bank with one of over 80 financial institutions, including CommBank, Westpac and NAB. Bank where you post. It's another way we're delivering for Australia at Australia Post. Bank at Post is an agency service available at participating post offices. Consult your financial institutions for available services and T's and C's. Limits apply.
When people walk through the doors at Pals, the first thing they say is wow. Not only because of the size and the selection, but also because of the team. Sam and Jamie have tasted every drop. They and their team can recommend a whiskey that's just as good as that hard-to-find Japanese one, if they don't have it, that is. Or a beautiful red that's reminiscent of that outstanding cellar door you once travelled so far to visit. Parafield Airport Liquor Store. Pals, next to Roulette's Tavern, Kings Road, Parafield.
Well, as the rental squeeze continues, people are offering more money just to secure a house. Our mates at Toop and Toop have given us some great tips for people out there who are trying to get into a rental home but are competing with hundreds of others.
Yeah, they got some. This is good advice. They say you should go to the very first open inspection because properties are leasing after just one viewing, so there might not be a second chance.
And it also pays to make sure you put your best foot forward when inspecting the property. Check all the information on the application form is complete and that relevant paperwork is attached.
Also, they said don't forget to list all of the people who are going to live in the house, and if you have pets, just be upfront and honest about it. Are you having trouble finding a rental property? Well, sign up at toop.com.au/registration and be the first to receive alerts for properties as soon as they go online.
Destructive winds, sweeping storms and driving rain. When wild weather strikes, Allianz is here to help. Save up to 15% on your first year's premium when you get a new Allianz comprehensive car insurance policy online. Get your quote online in minutes. Eligibility criteria and minimum premiums apply. A 72-hour exclusion period may apply for certain weather events. Conditions apply. Go online or call for a PDS to see if Allianz is right for you.
At Specsavers, we know we could all use a spare pair.
Where are my glasses?
Luckily, you can get 2 designer pairs, no gap, from the $199 single vision range with selected health funds. Only at Specsavers. Conditions apply.
9 News, weeknights at 5, nightly at 6. The switch is on to the news that's live and local. 9 News, made in Adelaide. At Bob Jane T-Marts, there's deals for safer holiday driving. Visit bobjane.com.au. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
15 minutes after 6, time to get into the news headlines on this Tuesday morning. At least 20 people have been killed on the nation's roads after the holiday weekend, with freeways and arterials choked as people return from the 4-day break. Massive increase in road fatalities compared to last Easter's national toll of just 6 deaths.
Yeah, it's staggering.
The country's had a shocker over the Easter long weekend. Airlines are preparing for the return of quarantine-free travel between New Zealand and Australia. New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern is today expected to announce the start of the two-way travel bubble. We've had something of a travel bubble before, but it was just them coming here.
Yeah.
So two-way to...
Now we're allowed in there.
Yeah, now we'd be allowed over there, which would be huge for the airlines, I imagine.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's surprising. They stand to benefit much more from that relationship than we do. They've got access suddenly to 25 million people that can turn up for a holiday. It's surprising that they've been the ones that have been more resistant to it to this point in time.
I guess that's in keeping with the very cautious approach they took all along. But, yeah, a lot of people will be itching to get out. You know, I saw this bizarre story in Japan. For people who are missing the thrill of flying and also the love of high-end cuisine, did you see that for like $500 a head, that one of the... It's not Japan Airlines, I think it's called All Nippon Air, have got these real high-end chefs, and you pay like $500 is the cheaper version, $700 a head is the really full-on crazy la-di-da one, where you sit in a plane on the tarmac, and you get given a boarding pass that's also your menu, and they bring you like foie gras, wagyu beef, caviar, and you have like this 15-course degustation sitting there in a plane. Bizarre.
Maybe it's just me, but I don't associate fine dining with being on a plane.
No. And the actual practice of eating on a plane is really unpleasant.
Miserable.
You're just banging elbows with people you don't know.
You've got that horrible safety cutlery with the squared off edges.
The post 9/11 one.
Oh, exactly right. You can't even assault a bread roll.
That's right.
A vigil will be held tonight for Anne-Marie Smith, the 54-year-old woman who suffered from cerebral palsy, died a year ago today from neglect. We've spoken about that and referenced it so often. I went back and read the original reporting. She was left in a cane chair for months.
Oh, no, it's just disgusting, isn't it, that story?
Her death was declared a major crime after she succumbed to organ failure and septic shock. Her disability carer is facing manslaughter charges. A 43-year-old man will front court today following a house fire at Para Hills over the long weekend. The blaze happened on Todd Road in the morning yesterday. England will take its first major step out of lockdown next week, with the British Prime Minister to allow pubs, restaurants and non-essential shops to reopen. Boris Johnson says a successful vaccination program has allowed the restrictions to be eased. More than 31 million people in the UK have now been given first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine. The country is commemorating the Australians who supported Allied efforts in the Battle of Crete. It has been 80 years since Australian and New Zealand troops and British artillery units were deployed to help defend Greece from German forces. Largely an ill-fated campaign in Greece too. Australians were dropped into an impossible situation there. Former US President Donald Trump is being accused of intentionally taking millions of dollars worth of donations from his supporters without their knowledge. The New York Times says his campaign deceived one-time donors into making recurring donations by hiding a box they had to untick deep inside the fine print. This is either Donald Trump doing something really dodgy or the business model of literally everything you subscribe to online right now.
Oh, I'll tell you what,
I struggle to think this is a Trump problem.
Yeah, I would agree. I won't say the name of the charity because it's a reputable charity and a good charity. It's an international charity that knocked on my door about a year ago and hit me up for a donation. I said, yeah, look, I'll give you $50. And they said, oh, you can only do it via credit card. And I went, okay. I said, well, here's $50. And then like 3 months later, I noticed that every month I was giving $50 to this charity. And I rang them up and said, why is it coming out every month? They said, oh, it's a monthly sort of program. That's the way it works. And, you know, like the day that I did it, this young woman who was from, I think she was from Somalia, was telling me a story and telling me about the international work that this organisation did. And I went, yeah, look, okay, I'll give you $50. And, you know, it wasn't her fault, but a lot of these organisations these days just like getting their hooks in here, don't they?
Oh, well, I don't know why it became accepted practice that you have to opt out of repeated withdrawals from your credit card.
Yeah.
Because that's what seems to be what it is. You try and sign up for a subscription service for some sort of entertainment platform online. Pick whatever one you want. Guarantee you, when the subscription period ends, they'll still take the money out. You'll get a brand new one.
Yeah.
You'll have to think, in 12 months, I'm going to have to cancel that. You never do.
The Trump stuff was amazing, though. Like, there were people getting direct debits for like $500 a month later.
Well, this is I guess the thing that kicks this into an area that is worthy of a deeper analysis is that people were so convinced it was a one-off. You had people with not a great deal of means saying, I'll take out everything I have.
Yeah.
$500, which is fine. But then a month later, another $500 comes out. And good luck to you then.
Yeah, that's right, exactly.
US stocks are surging off the back of positive jobs data. The Dow Jones up 386 points. LG is walking away from mobile phones. They're abandoning plans to launch rollable and flexible mobile technology. I remember seeing demonstration versions of these things, and it looked interesting, but I'm not sure what the practical application was. The South Korean tech giant has a 2% share of the global smartphone market. They're going to relinquish that. A series of earthquakes has rocked Los Angeles and surrounds. The biggest tremor clocked in on 4 at the Richter scale was centered near Los Angeles Airport. There are no reports of damages or injuries. Weather today, top of 27, another magnificent day. 28 tomorrow, it stays good. Thursday gets up to 31. Friday, 27, before dropping away for the weekend. We might get a little bit of rain too Saturday. 21 the top, 21 on Sunday, and 22 on Monday.
Look at the head on that. How did you become such a good home brewer? Easy. I just WEA'd it. Cheers. Cheers.
With new courses going up every week, you can WEA anything. wea-sa.com.au.
Can't hear all that now, can you? That's because this home has a Jolong double-glazed window and door system featuring high-performance sound insulation and heat resistance. That's not all Jolong can do for you. They can also help design your home with the light luxury and elegance you desire. And Jolong is on this journey with you for life, with lifetime service. Visit jolong.com.au.
The Barossa Valley is gorgeous, which is why it makes sense to make the Vine change to retirement living in Barossa Village, Angaston, Tanunda and Nuriutpa. It's the retirement lifestyle you deserve. And your pets too. Yes, your pets are your family, so you should never have to choose between your lifestyle and your beloved animals. Make the Vine change at Barossa Village, under an hour from the city. Find out more at barossavillage.org.
If you're looking for a new local, you know, the kind where you can get all your shopping done, where you don't have to spend all your time looking for a park, the kind where you can pick up presents, do the weekly shop, and stock up on seafood and small goods, look to Newton Central. With a newly renovated Drake's, Barossa Fine Foods, Seafood Works, Target, and many more shops, Newton Central is set to become your new local. Newton Central, Gorge Road, Newton.
Ready for adventure? Dave Benson Caravans have over 120 caravans and campers ready for your next one. With overseas travel off the cards for a while, invest your holiday dollars in a DBC caravan. Your valued dollars don't disappear. They remain in the asset of your luxury van. And you get to enjoy a holiday, seeing Australia's beauty. Come see the caravan specialists at Dave Benson Caravans to tailor your dream holiday on wheels. Your adventure begins here. 64 Grand Junction Road, Kilburn.
You can't go past IGA for hundreds of weekly specials right across the store, like Cold Power Liquid 1.8 to 2 litre or Powder 1.8 to 2 kilos selected varieties, $8.75, better than half price. Now at IGA. Offer ends April 6, participating stores only.
I want to start my own business, but I don't know where to start.
Why don't you WEA it? With new business courses going up every week, you can WEA anything. wea-sa.com.au.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. At Bob Jane T-Marts, there's deals for safer holiday driving. Visit bobjane.com.au. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
25 minutes after 6, 3 words make a big difference to our local dairy farmers. FIVEaa Milk Company. They're in your supermarket now. There are 2 words that matter to sports lovers everywhere. They're Tom Wren. Morning to you, Rennie.
Oh, you're too good. Morning, Will. Morning, David. Thanks for having me on, boys.
So your microphone's not working there, Rennie. We'll get you on that one there.
Let's just have a slight adjustment.
Yeah, there we go. Just got you to shift across.
Seamless.
Fancy footwork,
Yeah,
too.
that was good, just, a little hot shoe shuffle. Hey, boys, going to take you through my top 3 winners and losers from the weekend. We'll start with the winners. Ash Barty, I thought, winning the Miami Open. First time she's defended a title. Massive performance from her. And also, as a joint winner, I've got to give one to the Australian women's cricket team. 22 consecutive wins now.
Yeah,
It was front page article yesterday. So they're 2 of my big winners. Another, I've actually got a top 4 today. Sydney were my big winners from the football, from a team perspective. To come out and beat Richmond the way they did.
Yeah.
They are playing some of the most exciting football in the competition right now.
And at the MCG, wasn't it?
MCG, reigning premiers, and I know Richmond might have been thinking, we'll just roll up and get this one done, but Sydney right now, they're talking about, the trio of Rosie, Butters, Dersma, and rightly so for a long time. Could Goulden, McDonald, and Campbell be better?
Yeah.
Already people are saying they are, or will be.
Geez, they're impressive. Yeah, geez, it helps too when they've been playing together since the age of 10 through the Sydney Academy as well.
This academy's not bad,
we shouldn't ignore the fact that,
It gives hope, though, to followers of young sides with young lists.
You can turn around quickly.
This whole, it's a 3-year plan to get us into the premiership space. Well, why?
Yeah. Yep.
Why is it?
And I also think, David, it speaks to Sydney, just their culture. They just know how to play finals football. They just don't sit down the bottom of the ladder for long, do they? But my number 1 or individual winner for the week is this man, because he just gets it done every week at the moment.
Can go to McAdam, can go to Walker. Why wouldn't you? Taylor Walker! Why wouldn't you? What a kick. And Taylor Walker, as we said, can do no wrong. He's wound the clock back 10 years. Walker for goal number 6. Comes in. Thank you very much. Wowee! Just about bloody week.
I mean, he is playing phenomenal football. 17 goals. He kicked 15 last year to lead the goal kicking. He's already kicked 17. I know they're longer games, but it's the first time since 2010, Jonathan Brown, that we've had a player kick 5 or more in the opening 3 rounds of a season. It's only happened twice this century. Could we have it? Josh Bruce, 10 on the weekend. Harry Mackay, 7. Could we have a 100-goal kicker this season?
He held back the tide as well in that first quarter when it looked like Gold Coast. He was the
kept
one man that, exactly right, kept the Crows in it. Limited supply. It's remarkable. His story is one of the great stories of the year.
No one saw it coming either.
No.
A month ago, all the discussion around Tex was, how is he going to be managed? So, well, let's just let him play 4 quarters and kick as many goals as he wants. That seems to be working.
There's a Travis Boatness to it.
Yeah, there is.
I've got this funny feeling we're going to enter this period, Rennie, where as a result of things like Tom Brady and LeBron James, we're going to start talking about guys' careers in sport being a bit more longer term than we might have done in the past 10 years. And I think it's so much of it is just perception. It's like running the 4-minute mile, where it took generations for anyone to get close, but then the moment they did, everyone went, "Oh, that's possible." And it became, within a couple of years, it just became what you had to do. I reckon we're going to see guys playing longer than ever, and it makes perfect sense. Medical science being what it is these days,
you know how to look after yourself.
Exactly right. We shouldn't be still writing guys off if they hit 30. Oh, time for 1-year contracts. Well, maybe not.
Yeah,
maybe Walker's the first of it in the AFL,
and it's great to see. I mean, I think most people really like Tex, even if you're not a Crows fan. He's just a likeable, good bloke, and great to see him playing well. So they're my winners. My losers, sadly, I've got to put Port Adelaide in there. They were terrible on the weekend. I'm not that concerned just yet. If it happens again this week, I'm really concerned, but it's a one-off. I'm prepared. I'll tell you what, I'm not picking against West Coast again in Perth this season. They just
were brutal, weren't they?
They are going to be right there when the whips are cracking. Bit disappointing that Luke Shuey was injured, but Port, unfortunately, were really flat. I'm going to put Arsenal in there. Their record at the moment under Mikel Arteta is woeful. A worse 50-game record than Emery, who was before him, and Wenger before that. They're a powerhouse club, and they're not playing like it. They're mid-table. They're average. And I grew up playing the game. I don't like doing this, but the A-League, struggling at the moment. Adelaide United Central Coast on the weekend. Now, it doesn't take into account KO numbers, but nor do other ratings. 8,000 people watched it nationwide.
On TV.
8,000. I mean, that's...
Across the entire country?
Yeah.
Wow.
They're low figures.
You know, get them together in a cinema.
I'd be interested in the KO numbers because I think there's a bit of...
I think there'd be a lot there.
There's a bit of cord cutting happening with Fox 2 at the moment.
Yeah.
Because people can get access to it via Binge and KO.
So that's why... there's a caveat there for sure. But
that would be concerning, though.
It would be, yeah. And we want the A-League to be strong. I think I was at the Sixers on Saturday night. That's going great guns, the NBL, but we want the A-League really thriving as well.
Absolutely. Well done, Rennie.
Good on you, boys.
On you, Tom. Tom Wren, thanks to... Tom Wren loves South Australia. Very few love it as much as he does. But I tell you who does. FIVEaa Milk Company. South Australian and proud of it. We're proud of Tom Wren. Now, the other thing we're proud of is we've got some tickets to give away in just a moment. How about this?
Come and play. Everything's A-OK. Friendly neighbours there.
That's right. The TV program that taught a generation of Australians that it's pronounced Z. Sesame Street Circus Spectacular is in town. Don't miss out. Book now at Ticketmaster. We've got a family pass to give away after the break. We'll be doing that in just a moment after 5AA News. With
Taught a lot of us to count in Spanish as well.
That's right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, exactly right.
Miss Maria.
It's all good stuff. The circus is on at Penberthy Park. And we'll play a little game of Who Am I in just a moment. 8223 0055 at the number if you'd like to play.
This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Sunny and 27 today with the 6:30 news. I'm Mel Usher.
Woken with a stiff neck or sore back? Get a Physio Extra appointment today. 6 locations, physioextra.com.
There's been a serious crash at Bracunga in the Adelaide Hills. It happened on Pirates Road around 5:30 last night. A car went into a tree just north of the township. A vigil will be held tonight for Anne-Marie Smith to mark a year since her passing. The 54-year-old from the eastern suburbs who suffered from cerebral palsy died from neglect. Her death was declared a major crime, with her disability carer facing manslaughter charges. Tourism operators are hoping for a crucial financial boost from quarantine-free travel between New Zealand and Australia. New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern is today due to announce the start date for the two-way travel bubble. The Tourism and Transport Forum's Margie Osmond says it's been a long time coming.
It's been a very unusual set of circumstances. I mean, the Australia-New Zealand Leadership Forum put together a plan for opening this aviation route, halfway through last year, which was submitted to both governments. So the airlines, everybody else is ready to roll as soon as they make that announcement.
Liberal Senator Jim Molan says he's not afraid to battle cancer after announcing he's been diagnosed with an aggressive form of the disease. The former Major General will step away from parliamentary duties while his prognosis is confirmed and he receives treatment. In a statement, Senator Molan says the news is a shock, but he has many reasons to be positive. The UK's road out of lockdown is continuing, with fresh freedoms to be introduced from next week. A ban on overnight domestic stays will be lifted, and outdoor venues such as zoos and drive-in cinemas can operate for the first time in 3.5 months. British residents will still be banned from travelling overseas. Prime Minister Boris Johnson says life will feel relatively normal for the first time in a long time, but nobody can be complacent.
We can see the waves of sickness afflicting other countries, and we've seen how this story goes. We still don't know how strong the vaccine shield will be when cases begin to rise, as I'm afraid that they will, and that's why we're saying, please get your vaccine or your second dose.
Sterilising dummies could be linked to an increased risk of food allergies in young children. Nine's Gail Watson reports on new research.
Close to 900 families were followed for the study from birth to 1 year of age. The findings, published in the Journal of Allergy and Clinical Immunology, found repeatedly using antiseptic to clean dummies over the first 6 months was associated with higher odds of food allergy. But there was no increased risk of food allergy among infants where the dummies were boiled in water, washed under the tap, put in a parent's mouth, or not washed at all for up to 6 months. Food allergy occurs in around 10% of infants and 4 to 8% of children in Australia and New Zealand.
French police have issued a warning to Lego lovers after uncovering an international gang of thieves specialising in stealing the toy bricks. 3 people have been arrested in Paris, admitting they were taking limited edition pieces to sell to collectors. Now turning to 5AA Sport.
Who loves South Australia as much as you do? FIVEaa Milk Company. South Australian and proud of it.
It's over to Tom Wren.
Thank you, Mel. Adelaide is bracing itself for a fired-up North Melbourne when the two sides meet at Marvel Stadium on Saturday. The Kangas were embarrassed against the Bulldogs, going down by 128 points. Crows defender Tom Duday telling Channel 9 they're expecting a response.
For North to have what they just had happen to them, I think they're going to come out very motivated, and I think that's just natural competitors. If you get destroyed or you get beat comfortably, you want to come out and prove that was the anomaly.
One game to wrap up round 3 yesterday, with Geelong holding on to beat Hawthorn by 5 points. Cats defender Tom Atkins says they were expecting the Hawks to put up a late fight.
There was a couple of goals that they kicked late that we probably could have saved, but they're a great team and they played pretty well all day, so we sort of always expected them to come. But yeah, like I said, a few crucial contests towards the end that we won, so very proud of the boys.
It's approaching full time in the English Premier League, with West Ham clinging to a 3-2 lead against Wolverhampton. Earlier, Everton and Crystal Palace played out a 1-1 draw. And Australia's richest running race, the Stall Gift, has been won by Ed Ware. He pockets $40,000 for winning the 120-metre handicap race. Meantime, South Aussie Hayley Orman took out the women's event, also pocketing a very handy $40,000. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Audi Solitaire, Metro Dealer of the Year. Visit audisolitaire.com.au.
Sunny today with a top of 27, sunny tomorrow 28, then up to 31 on Thursday. Right now it's 11 degrees. More news as it happens on 5AA.
At Bob Jane T-Marts, there's deals for safer holiday driving. Visit bobjane.com.au. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
23 to 7, Tim Lester in the US before 7 o'clock. The AMA after 7. If you had a question for the AMA, be it vaccine related or otherwise, we're happy to put it to them. You can call in yourself, of course, at any time on 8223 0000 or text us 0448 08 13 95. We'll be talking about everything from the speed of the rollout to blood clotting in people that have received the AstraZeneca vaccine. That's ahead. Right now, we've got some tickets to give away. The Sesame Street Circus Spectacular is in town. It's at Penberthy Park. You can get tickets at Ticketmaster, or you can jump on with us on 8223 0055, win a family pass by playing a little game of Who Am I? Rhett is the first caller through. Morning to you, Rhett.
Morning, Dave. How you going?
That's Will. Dave's here, Rat. We do sound pretty similar these days. We've been locked in a room together for too long. What's your earliest Sesame Street memory, Rat?
I guess probably almost not invented when I was young, mate. But I suppose just the characters, Big Bird. Just, I don't know, mate.
Yeah.
I don't know. It used to just be on, so Mum and stickers in front.
It's always been on. Staggering how long it's gone.
Well,
I didn't even know this competition works.
We're delighted that you know some of the characters, because the big fear, Rat, is we do a Who Am I about Sesame Street characters and someone says, I've never actually watched it. So so you're off to a good start. You just need to jump in and let us know who you think this character is. Once you get it, and we'll give you the family pass. It's a bit of a Who Am I? Okay, here we go. I've had a US top 20 single in the 1970s with the song Rubber Ducky. Oh. I live on 123 Sesame Street.
Rubber Ducky.
I have a flatmate who is my best friend.
You're the one.
I'm orange with black hair. I have a niece called Ernestine.
Are we Ernie?
Oh. I don't know what gave it away. Not familiar with the niece, but was a ripper clue. Hey, you've got the tickets, Rhett. You're off to see the Sesame Street Circus Spectacular that's in town. Everyone else can get tickets at Ticketmaster and check it out at Penberthy Park. There's a huge display there at the moment every time you drive past.
One of the first records my parents bought for me was in about 1973, I reckon, and it was called Sesame Street Sings the Hits. And Rubber Ducky is the first track.
What are the other hits?
I Love Trash. Oscar the Grouch, you know that one?
Course.
Oh, I love trash.
Yes.
We still play it, like because Sam and Charlie love it, because they watch Sesame Street. It's amazing that an idea can endure for so long, isn't it? How long is it now? What, 60 years?
Must be 60 years, yeah.
Just staggering.
It's 50 years since, it's 51 years since 1970, so absolutely.
Yeah.
It's pretty incredible.
Mm.
And it was a big part of that whole era in the sort of late 80s, early 90s with mass Americanisation of Australian stuff.
Yeah.
Like it was an American show, was the most watched kids' TV program.
But it's a really good show. I mean, I think that its origin is not an issue. Although you're right about Z.
Oh, it used to drive my father nuts. Z, trash. I mean, seriously.
I don't know why people get so antsy about that. I think different countries have got different ways of doing things.
Yeah, but people get antsy about everything, especially any influence that comes from another country. It's, what's happening now?
It's such a clever show.
These New Zealanders are going to be coming in later today.
But you think about, what's that? Because each Sesame Street program is brought to you by a letter.
Mm.
And there was one I saw not that long ago. It said, today's program is brought to you by the letter B. And they had this band of, they weren't even like, name characters. They were just a band of puppets. And they sang the song Letter B. And it went, when I wanted to spell a word like baseball, bat or brick or bumblebee, there must be a letter B.
Yeah, that's good.
And it was just genius.
Yeah, that's
such a clever thing.
Lots of texts coming through on the Telstra Storm Out Barker text line on a range of subjects, some that appeared in the news headlines this morning. Stuart says, why would anyone give Donald Trump even a one-off donation? He's the only magician whose tricks you can see through, says Stuart in relation to the New York Times article about the recurring donations.
One here from Ray who says, hi guys, can't believe the negative bagging going on in this country re the vaccination rollout. Can we have the current cases and total deaths in the country we're comparing ourselves with, please? We forget we had 3 million doses cancelled from Europe and have sent millions to the desperate Papua New Guinea. Let's put all this in perspective and be grateful for the unbelievable place we're at and the way we are able to live our lives. We are the envy of the world. Fair enough, Ray. I think the thing is, though, that it's because we did so well that we're now doing so not well compared to the rest of the world because we've been basking in our own glory, I think.
The measures required for you to do well in terms of preventing deaths are also the same measures that create the death of business.
Yeah, totally.
So we can still be doing well by the people aren't dying measure, but doing really badly by the why does Brisbane have to lock down for 4 or 5 days suddenly measure?
Well, why did Blues Fest have to get cancelled?
Exactly right. $100 million worth of economic activity there. So, yeah, pick your measure and we can look really good. There was a good point.
I think the people who are most relaxed about it are the ones who don't have, who aren't working. People who are retired or people who don't run businesses are just, going about their life going, we're just lucky to be here. So, well, a lot of us are lucky to be here.
Yeah. You made a great point in your column as well over the weekend in terms of the number of vaccines that are in Australia at the moment. And yes, there has been issues with supply, but there hasn't yet been 100% distribution of the ones we do have. I think it was as low as 35% in South Australia.
Yeah.
So even if we had the extra 4 million, they'd be sitting in a freezer.
Yeah, that's right.
17 minutes to 7, 8223 0000 is the number. Good text. Telstra Storm Out Barker text line 044808 1395. Let's check traffic. Thanks to Dave Potter, Australia's #1 Honda dealer. Second year running, davepotterhonda.com.au.
Mount Osborne on the freeway down track, speeds down to 60 from the tunnels for work. Salisbury East works up there as well. Main North Kings, McIntyre Roads intersection. Greenhill Road, Unley Road, a burst water main in the city with a speed down to 40. Making fueling arrangements can be difficult. When you need to, talk to Alfred James, your family-owned South Australian funeral directors. Alfred James, the final farewell matters. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Living with osteoarthritis means living with pain, but SportsMed is changing that thanks to the revolutionary GLAD program. Here's SportsMed's Dr. Greg Keane with more.
GLAD is a 6-week exercise program performed in groups, and it continues to produce remarkable results for patients, even a year after completing the course. If you are struggling with the pain of osteoarthritis, visit SportsMed. Let's beat this.
SportsMed.
Start living life again, even with arthritis.
Sportsmed.com.au.
Walko, Blanky! Walko, Blanky! Walko, Blanky! This is a game Pool and I play. Each night I come out and put her Walko blankie on. Keeps her from evaporating. But winter is coming. Soon she'll need her Walko Guardian pool cover. Sure, the fun ends, but I know she's looked after. Chemicals sealed off from the light, water clean, and no need for your pump. Get your pool a Walko Guardian pool cover for winter. Walko.com.au.
When you're gone, who gets your vintage 1951 Telecaster? Who gets the jewellery handed down from your great-great-great-grandmother? Who gets the other things that were precious to you? If you don't have a will, you'll never know. Donlan Lawyers specialise in wills and estate planning. From the simplest to the most complex, you can trust Donlan Lawyers to help protect your wishes. For wills and estate planning, visit donlanlawyers.com.
At Mawson Lakes Volkswagen, we believe that what you want is pretty straightforward. A service department that offers factory-trained mechanics, next-day servicing, complimentary pickup and delivery, wash and vacuum is standard, brake, wheel alignment and shock absorber testing included, complimentary loan cars, breakfast or lunch is on us, and access Wi-Fi while you're waiting. Go online to book your service today and experience the difference. Mawson Lakes Volkswagen, just a short drive from the city.
As I look deep into my crystal ball, I see your future. Bright and full of promise. Oh!
Yes?
I see.
Yes?
I see.
What? What is it? What do you see?
No, it's gone.
Lost your picture or need to improve your picture quality? Call Jim's Antennas. With technicians on the road all over SA, we'll have it fixed in no time. Call 131 546 or visit jimsantennas.com.au.
9 News, weeknights at 5, nightly at 6. The switch is on to the news that's live and local. 9 News, made in Adelaide. At Bob Jane T-Marts, there's deals for safer holiday driving. Visit bobjane.com.au. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
14 minutes to 7. I'll tell you what, the only benefit of the clocks winding back isn't simply just the long sleep in. The sun is up, David Penberthy. It's 14 minutes to 7 and it's light outside. It suddenly feels magnificent at this time of day. When you get to this point of the year and the weather's okay and the light's early, I reckon that is sensational.
Tell you what, the only downside of the clocks going back is your kids don't get the memo.
Or pets.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Well, when I left this morning, Sam was already up, sitting in front of the TV. The dogs were out of the laundry. Like, mate, it's like 5:30.
Yeah, it's no good at all. After 7 o'clock this morning, interested in your input into a conversation we're going to have about the Australians' analysis of Newspoll. It's found that South Australia is the worst state for the federal coalition right now. South Australia. We want to ask you the simple question, why? Why are you off the coalition? 8223 or text us on the Telstra Stormont Barker text line. We'll get into that after 7 o'clock. Senior Constable Dave Muir from SAPOL is on the line. Morning to you, Dave.
Good morning.
There's been 2 fatal road accidents over the Easter long weekend.
Yeah, sadly, we've recorded 2 deaths on our roads over our Easter break. Just before 7:45 in the morning on Saturday, police were called to Anglevale Road near the intersection of Dalkeith and Andrews Road at Hillier, where a blue Holden utility had been found to have hit a tree. The driver and sole occupant was a 24-year-old man from Mawson Lakes, was found deceased inside the vehicle. And then around 5:30 yesterday afternoon, police and emergency services were called to Pirates Road, just north of the township of Bracunga, after a Ford Ute crashed into a tree. The driver there, a 28-year-old local man, was airlifted to Royal Adelaide Hospital with life-threatening injuries, but unfortunately his passenger, a 39-year-old Nan man, died at the scene. We are asking anyone who saw either of these vehicles prior to crashing or has any information that may assist with the investigations to give us a call via Crime Stoppers on 1800 333 000. And we've now had 35 lives lost on our road this year as compared to 31 for this time last year. 35 more than we should have.
Absolutely. Dave, also, a survey was held up at Port Lincoln overnight.
Yeah, this was just before 2:30 this morning. Police were called to a service station on King Street after a man wearing a Halloween-style mask entered the service station armed with a knife and threatened the console operator. Now, the suspect left with an amount of cigarettes and some cash and was last seen heading on foot south along London Street. Now, thankfully, no one was actually physically injured. The suspect's described as being aged in their late teens to early 20s, 160 to 170 centimetres tall with a slim build, wearing an orange-red hooded jumper with some distinctive markings on it. We do have some images on the Air Western news page, also Facebook, for people to have a look at. If anyone's got any information, of course, give us a call again at Crime Stoppers on 1800 333 000.
Good on you, Dave. Thank you for that. Senior Constable Dave Muir from SAPOL. The weather has been the key talking point of the morning, so let's continue it. Brett Gage, Senior Forecaster at the Bureau, joins us. Morning to you, Brett.
Morning, Dave and Will.
How long can the good times continue for?
Yeah, we've got a few more days in it yet. It's certainly a bit cooler this morning. It's currently just 11 degrees, so a little bit. We've got that autumn chill coming into the air now. But it's still nice and warm during the day, top of 27 and sunny. Out on the waters today, we've got southeasterlies about 10 knots, south to southwest afternoon sea breeze 10 to 15 knots, reaching 15 to 20 knots just in the late afternoon period. And then back on the land for tomorrow, minimum of 12, top of 28 and sunny. A bit warmer on Thursday, top of 31 degrees. But we are expecting a weak late change to come through. No weather associated with it initially, but a bit further behind the change during Friday. A slight chance for a shower about the hills and southern suburbs. Should stay fine in the CBD, top of 27. But then a fresh to strong southerly push coming through on Saturday. So a top of just 21 expected. Cloudy conditions and just a slight chance of a shower, but the wind should be a bit of a factor there on the Saturday for the footy.
Good tip. Thank you for that, Brett. Brett Gage, Senior Forecaster at the Weather Bureau. 9 to 7, we'll have Stephen Rowe on the last long weekend of football after 7 o'clock. We'll also catch up with the AMA. And if you've got a question for him, there's a couple coming from the text line that are quite good. We'll get those fired off for you. 8223 0000, or you can text us on the Telstra Store Mount Barker text line.
You don't always have to be in a physical hospital to receive the care you need. My Home Hospital brings hospital-level care straight to you in the comfort and privacy of your own home. My Home Hospital is a wellbeing SA service and is available at no charge to eligible public patients 24 hours a day, 7 days a week across metropolitan Adelaide. Find out if you're eligible, talk to your doctor or visit myhomehospital.sa.gov.au. My Home Hospital. We bring the care to you. This message brought to you by the Government of South Australia.
You might think having thousands of pals is excessive, but that's not what the team at Parafield Airport Liquor Store think, because that's how many they have. Sure, they might be made up of over 100 gins, over 200 whiskies, over 300 craft beers, and over 2,000 boutique wines. But they're some of the best pals you could have, and they're always looking for more, even if they are tricky to track down. Parafield Airport Liquor Store. Pals, next to Roulette's Tavern, Kings Road, Parafield.
We hear you. You've lived enough to know you want more. More time, more freedom, more living. Introducing Encore Apartments from ECH, a new vertical retirement village at Modbury, opposite Tea Tree Plaza. 77 two-bedroom apartments, all with private balconies, plus on-site cafe, fitness centre and community garden. Book an appointment to see the new display suite at Parkside or visit echencore.com.au.
G'day, it's Eddie May here from NRG Solar. If you've postponed your overseas trip, whether you plan to sun yourself on the deck of a cruise ship or hang out on a tropical island, you can still make the most of the sun and invest in solar panels. It's a smart move because you'll actually be getting a great return on your investment. And with the money you've saved, you'll be able to take an even better holiday. Say bon voyage to your power bills forever. Visit nrgsolar.com.au or drop into our showroom on South Road at Richmond.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. At Bob Jane T-Marts, there's deals for safer holiday driving. Visit bobjane.com.au. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
6 to 7, time to head off to the US. Tim Lester for 7 News joins us. Morning to you, Tim.
Morning, guys.
So, Tim, the Derek Chauvin trial, him being the police officer charged with murder over the death of George Floyd, entering its second week this week, what can we expect?
Well, what we've seen in recent days is a succession of key people in the police department, or at least we're up to the third now, perhaps the most important person in the Minneapolis Police Department, the chief, Arredondo, and all are turning out to be very damaging for their old colleague, Derek Chauvin. Chauvin, you'll remember, using his knee on the neck of George Floyd to restrain him back last May 25th for 9.5 minutes. Of course, George Floyd died. Protests right around the globe. Now all three police officers have condemned their old colleague, Derek Chauvin. The chief even said last year that he thought it was murder. Very unhelpful given now for his old colleague, given Derek Chauvin now faces second and third degree murder charges. So police evidence in this trial is really turning out to be very important for the prosecution.
Because all of the evidence last week, Tim, seemed to go to George Floyd's backstory, if you like, and we got a picture of a bloke who was pretty troubled. He had clearly had some long-standing issues with drugs and was indeed under the influence of drugs at the time of his death, from my recollection of the evidence as it was led.
Completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely. And addicted to fentanyl, the painkiller.
Yeah.
And that was certainly heavily in his system, according to the autopsy. But and he'll be another key witness, the medical examiner for the county that carried out the autopsy says that whilst he had fentanyl in his system, homicide was the cause of death.
Yeah, right.
So that's going to be a key part of evidence.
Tim, also a big interview is airing with Piers Morgan. Here's a little bit of it.
I still don't believe what they were saying. And in particular, I don't believe what Meghan Markle said. 17 different claims by the pair of them have now been proven to be either completely untrue or massively exaggerated or unprovable. I didn't believe Meghan Markle. A huge furore erupted through the day. I was an outrage. I wasn't allowed to have an opinion that I didn't believe what she was saying, even though it was clear to me in real time as I was watching the interview that there were a number of things which just couldn't be true.
So he left Good Morning Britain and he's found an ear at Fox News, it sounds like, Tim.
Well, he has. Piers Morgan, of course, is the old tabloid editor from Fleet Street turned breakfast show host who took Meghan Markle to task after her interview with Oprah Winfrey a month ago, as we heard, claiming disbelief. Well, he's doubled down on that this morning in his first television interview since the fuss that cost him his job at Good Morning Britain. He's gone harder at Meghan Markle, and he claims now that a great deal of the Duchess of Sussex's interview with Oprah Winfrey were demonstrable lies. He uses the word lies. So plenty of fireworks there from a Conservative TV host journalist who's letting fly on the issue.
Certainly is. Good on you, Tim.
Good on you, guys. Talk soon.
Tim Lester for 7 News in the United States.
I think Piers Morgan is right, though. The longer that interview has been out there in the public domain, the more so much of it has fallen apart. And the more, I think, I was talking to my mum about it over the weekend, and she's such a great barometer of these things. And she made the point, I think, that so many other people would have made. And she's been no fan of the Royals and thought that the way they treated Diana was terrible. But, she said, well, how would you do that to your own grandma, particularly at a time when your grandpa's in hospital so gravely ill? And, it just doesn't really pass the backyard barbecue test. It just looks like they're entitled little brats.
Fascinated to see what the response will be in the United States to that interview on Fox News, because it's been very much a tale of either side of the Atlantic, how this has been received. In the UK, I think the majority opinion certainly has been that how could you do that to the Queen? Where in the United States, it's been, no, this is a proud woman who's speaking up and Harry's supporting her and the Royals are a bunch. They see it as a celebrity story and a bit of a celebrity stoush. So how does a Brit conveying that opinion in the United States get received? His initial critique and leaving Good Morning Britain was painted as a race issue. In the US. So I'm really interested to see what the reception will be like to him doubling down on it.
The most allegedly racist part of that interview was the mystery surrounding the royal who apparently made the comment about what colour little baby Archie was going to be. There was a piece last week saying that it was Princess Anne who said it, but also that she wasn't actually saying anything cruel. She was just saying, it's going to be, funny when, this little coffee-coloured baby pops out, and as part of the royal family. Like, it wasn't a hateful sort of thing.
I think Anne has a history of being an arch conservative either, by the way.
No.
7 o'clock. 5AA news time. On the other side of the news with Mel Usher, we're going to be chatting with the AMA about the vaccine rollout here in Australia. If you've got a question, jump on board and ask it. 8223 0000.
Online, on DAB Digital Radio and on 1395 AM. Talking Adelaide. This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Sunny today and 27 with the 7 o'clock news. I'm Mel Usher.
Physio Extra is a registered NDIS provider, so let them support you in achieving your goals. PhysioExtra.com.
There were 2 deaths on our roads over Easter. A 39-year-old man was killed after the ute he was travelling in crashed into a tree on Pirates Road at Brookunga last night. The Nairn resident died at the scene. The 28-year-old driver has life-threatening injuries. Senior Constable Dave Muir says the first death on the long weekend happened on Saturday morning.
Police were called to Anglevale Road at FIVEaa, where a blue Holden utility had been found to have hit a tree. Now, the driver and sole occupant was a 24-year-old man from Mawson Lakes, was found deceased inside the vehicle.
The state road toll now stands at 35 for the year compared to 31 at the same time last year. There'll be a court appearance today following a house fire at Para Hills over the long weekend. The blaze happened on Todd Road yesterday morning. A 43-year-old man has been charged. After months of setbacks, the travel corridor between Australia and New Zealand could open within days. Nine's Christina Hearn has more.
The New Zealand Prime Minister will today announce when the Trans-Tasman bubble will finally begin, which will allow travel between the two countries without the need to quarantine at either end. Already, most Australian states allow Kiwis to travel here freely, but not the other way around. Air New Zealand has started putting on daily flights between Auckland and Sydney and Melbourne from Friday. But the bubble is not expected to start until the 12th or 19th of this month. Jacinda Ardern has previously said vaccinations will not be required. But like travelling interstate, there'll be the risk of border closures if there's an outbreak.
Unions are accusing the government of abandoning workers after the Fair Work Commission was asked to freeze the minimum wage. The government argues higher labour costs could present a major constraint to small business in the wake of the pandemic. The ACTU has argued for an increase of $26 a week. ACTU Assistant Secretary Scott Connolly says it's a reasonable boost which would support economic growth.
The beneficiaries of the minimum wage increases are the biggest spenders in our economy, that they make the biggest contribution to economic activity, that these wages won't be squirreled away, they won't be saved, they will go back into the economy, they will support economic activity.
US stocks are surging off the back of positive jobs data. Tom Petrovsky from CommSec says the figures were almost double what some economists had expected.
916,000 jobs were added to the US economy over the course of the last month. So this was a reflection of a number of things. The vaccine being rolled out, its take-up, the reopening of the US economy. So all of those things combined.
Now turning to 5AA Sport.
3 words make a big difference to our local dairy farmers. Flurio Milk Company. In your supermarket now.
What's happening at Alberton, Tom Wren?
Well, Port Adelaide midfielder Mel Sampalpepper has returned to training 4 weeks after taking personal leave from the club, but he won't be considered for selection this weekend. Hawthorn coach Alistair Clarkson admits they made plenty of blues across the game against Geelong. The Cats beating the Hawks in yesterday's match by 5 points at the MCG, but Clarkson says their intent was commendable.
Yeah, our polish with the ball and our capacity to be able to execute to hurt the Geelong side when they're trying to defend just wasn't at the level that we need to be right at this point in time. Last 2 weeks we've played the grand finalists from last year, so it's a tough start to the year.
And one game in the NRL to wrap up round 4 with the Parramatta Eels continuing their unbeaten start to the season with a 36 to 22 point win against the West Tigers. To cricket in South Australia, we'll be hoping to send out the retiring paceman Chad Sayers off in style when they play the final day of their Sheffield Shield clash against Victoria later today. The Redbacks will resume at 5 for 151, giving them an overall lead of 119 runs. Henry Hunt is still at the crease, unbeaten on 73. 2 games in the English Premier League this morning, with West Ham jumping into the top 4 thanks to a 3-2 win against Wolverhampton. Earlier, Everton and Crystal Palace shared the points in a 1-1 draw. And players have begun practising at Augusta ahead of the opening round of the Masters on Thursday night. 5 Aussies will be in the field this year, including Cameron Smith, who finished second last year. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
Dave Potter, Australia's #1 Honda dealer, second year running. DavePotterHonda.com.au.
Green Hill Road, Unley Road in the city of Burst Watermain with a speed at 40. Port Wakefield Highway between Copper Coast Road and Port Wakefield is fairly busy with the speed down to 25. Freeway down track speed at 60 there as well from the tunnels to the toll gates. That's in Mount Osman. When you fill up, make sure you fuel the feeling with Shell V-Power, the premium fuel designed to clean and protect your car's engine. Look for Shell V-Power the next time you fill up your car. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Audi Solitaire, Metro Dealer of the Year. Visit audisolitaire.com.au.
Sunny today and a top of 27. Sunny tomorrow 28. Thursday partly cloudy 31 degrees. Right now it's 12. More news as it happens on 5AA.
In the last hour on Adelaide's 5AA.
I've got to say that it feels almost wrong to be talking about hard news. I reckon the number one thing everyone is going to say when they get to work today, what about that weather? What about that weather? It was absolute star of the show.
Well, it's hard to believe that season's almost ending. You know, the beach season.
It was like the perfect summer weekend.
It felt like the perfect summer weekend.
He is playing phenomenal football. 17 goals. He kicked 15 last year to lead the goal kicking. He's already kicked 17. I know they're longer games. Could we have a 100-goal kicker this season?
He held back the tide as well in that first quarter when it looked like Gold Coast. He was the
kept
one
them in
man, exactly right, kept the Crows in it. It's remarkable. His story is one of the great stories of the year.
So, Tim, the Derek Chauvin trial, him being the police officer charged with murder over the death of George Floyd, entering its second week this week.
What we've seen in recent days is a succession of key people in the police, the chief, Arredondo, all are turning out to be very damaging for their old colleague Derek Chauvin.
You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
7 after 7, no concerns about the weather out of the long weekend, but there are some concerns about the vaccine, both in its speed of rollout and the safety in its administering. Dr. Chris Moy is the South Australian President of the AMA, the Australian Medical Association, and joins us now on 5AA Breakfast. Dr. Moy, good morning to you.
Yeah, g'day, guys.
Can we start with perhaps the safety issue, the one that will be foremost in mind out of the weekend with regard to cases of blood clotting and a case here in Australia? What's the important message that every one of our listeners gets out of that occurrence?
The first thing is to just get a perspective of this. It's not your normal blood clotting, and the main message is that there is no increased rate of blood clotting caused by the vaccine overall. What is being looked at here and overseas is a small number of a very unusual type of clotting where there's this sort of strange low platelet level. Normally you have normal platelet level when you're clotting. And this is occurring at about the rate of about 1 in 100,000, maybe 1 in 500,000 people who get the jab. And it is something that's occurring in a certain age group under 55, and it's treatable as long as we have the right protocols. Now, the thing is that they're looking at it at the moment to work out if it is actually still linked. It's starting to look more and more like it is. But the thing is that to get a perspective, we have an independent regulation process that looks at this. Scientists and doctors look at this, and they're just about to have their main meeting on Wednesday. And they'll look at it and work out to give the advice about the medications. Now, we do that with any medication. Now, you might be wondering, this case means you've got to stop. No. If we did that, we wouldn't have any medications, because the pill, for example, the oral contraceptive pill, has a rate of blood clotting, normal blood clotting, of a rate of about 1 in 1,000 per year for women on it. So, look, I think the main thing is get a perspective, understand we're going to go through the normal process, work out what the benefit is, which is to stop serious disease from COVID versus the risk, and then give the advice to the community, and they can make up their own decisions.
So what you're saying, Dr. Moy, in sort of layman's terms, is that any type of medication does potentially bring a risk of blood clotting, and there's nothing about the coronavirus vaccine that is any different from that.
Oh, any type of medication that you can have has a risk, has side effects. The even aspirin has a risk of serious ulcers, for example. So anything we have has a risk. The main thing is actually ascertain it, work out if it's true or not. Actually determine what that risk is, and then explain it to the community, but also have the sort of the controls on it to, for example, there's now protocols for doctors to identify, do the right test to identify, and then start the treatment, send off to hospital and start the treatment if somebody has developed these symptoms.
Our listeners then can take a degree of comfort in those numbers. There will be some listeners, though, that are in a unique situation, like Mike, who's texted us on the Telstra Store Mount Barker text line. He's 63 and qualifies for the 1B vaccination. He's at risk. He says he's got a family history of blood clotting problems. And you can imagine this kind of news and the potential for there being a causal relationship has concerned him a little bit. He says he'd like to pay for a different vaccine, not AstraZeneca, go down the Moderna path or some other thing.
Okay.
What consideration is there to Mike's case?
Okay. The first thing is that for individuals who have a history of blood clotting, I think I said to you at the start, there is no increased overall risk of blood clotting. So the normal blood clotting that people get, like the one they get on the pill, there is no increased risk. There is this extremely rare type, which it's almost like an allergic reaction where people actually develop some sort of antibodies to their platelets, actually, and that's why they have these low platelets. But it's a very unusual type, and it's not associated with people that have a history of previous blood clots in the past. Now, that's the first thing. So there is no increased risk. So people who've had a history of blood clotting are safe in having this because they have no increased risk of this maybe unusual thing which we're looking into. Now, in terms of getting another type of vaccine, there is, unfortunately, at this moment in time, no real option. You may be aware that really across the world, the biggest issue at the moment is getting vaccines. And we have only two types of vaccine in Australia. One is FIVEaa, which is only coming in dribs and drabs, really. We have ordered about 20 million doses, but it's coming in only at dribs and drabs because everybody's fighting for it overseas at the moment, and there are only certain factories making it because it's a very difficult vaccine to make relative to certain vaccines. And we have AstraZeneca at the moment, which is the one we are relying primarily on because we can make it in Australia, which is the critical element at the moment, and that's the thing that's holding up the vaccine rollout because at the moment we've been relying on overseas and they really haven't come through so far.
Dr. Moy, just in terms of the management of the vaccine rollout, do you think that as a nation we're expecting GPs to do too much of the heavy lifting? I was reading this morning that the chairman of the federal government's own task force looking at the management of this is being quite critical now, saying there should be a sort of three-pronged strategy involving the creation of larger vaccination centres, the use of pharmacies and also GPs as one of the three prongs of the strategy, yet instead it feels like everyone's bombarding their local GP saying, I'm in the right age bracket, when can I be vaccinated? And everything that has to be done in order to vaccinate everyone in Australia right now is being done by the local doctor.
Look, can I just say, last week was hysteria. Look, general practitioners have been coming on board, and we believe that they are the right people because we do vaccines all the time. I'm a GP. We do vaccines all the time. We put out 6 million flu vaccines every year, so we do this stuff. This is core business. The biggest problem last week in the GP rollout, which has only been going on for 2 weeks, is that essentially only a third of the 4,600 practices that were due to start online have actually come online. So we've got about 1,600 practices on at the moment out of 4,600 practices. The next thing is, as I said before, the vaccine supply from overseas we're relying on for that very first beginning of the vaccine rollout until now has really not come through for us, both Pfizer and AstraZeneca. So essentially we've only received, so we're due to get 3.8 million doses of AstraZeneca by now from overseas. We've only received less than 1 million of those doses, and that's the stuff that's been distributed. So for GPs have been sitting there and they have been upset because they haven't get this vaccine because they think they can do it. But it's only a third of the GPs on and we haven't had the supply. So essentially in football terms, it's been like judging the GP rollout with only us being able to put a third of the team out there. We haven't even had the ball yet. So let's give us a chance.
I don't think anyone's criticising the GPs.
No.
It's more the politics surrounding it. And, when it gets to the point where you've got state ministers trading insults with the Commonwealth, I mean, it just looks terrible.
Oh, yeah. Look, I think that's where the biggest problem has been, because essentially, having seen what the numbers are looking like, look, I know how big this is. This ain't your normal project, okay? This is like this ain't some project you've seen before. This is bigger than anything I've ever seen, and I have actually been seeing some before. This is so much bigger because there's the deliveries to so many places. The biggest problems have been political promises which were made even when the vaccines weren't even approved in Australia, which essentially were silly. And they've actually got governments into a lot of trouble. And then there has been this bun fight between the states, which was really quite unseemly last week. And as somebody on the ground who says, look, people will say, look, you sound like you're close to the government. I'm not close to the government. I'm close to this vaccine program because I know how important and positive this is for the community. And I don't really give a rat's ass about the community.
Good on you. Neither do we.
And the political stuff has actually, can I say this to the community? The vaccine's such a great undertaking. If we'd had a year ago the chance to have a vaccine roll out across the community without COVID in the community, I think we would have grabbed that in a millisecond. And so for people out there, don't listen to all these politicians having a go at each other, because there's been some really silly stuff last week. I thought it was very, very depressing. But from the point of view, it's just wonderful we've got this vaccine. And, when it's your turn, let's just do what we have as a community, because it's really the community that got us through this. We've all held together. Let's just, when it's our turn, go get your shot. And, I think hopefully by later this year we'll be in a much, much better position, as the UK appears to be moving into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally.
Positive signs there.
Very well said,
Dr. Moy, really appreciate chatting with you as always.
Yeah, no worries.
Dr. Chris Moy, the South Australian President of the Australian Medical Association.
Bit of free advice there for Australia's politicians.
Yeah.
See your doctor if the political BS persists.
Could have a vaccine for that.
Yeah, I know. It's pity you can't.
Sandra in Glengarry's called in. Morning to you, Sandra.
Good morning. I makes my blood boil every time people talk about the virus and how hard done by we are in Australia. I've got a daughter who's a doctor and moved to Toronto. They have been in lockdown, they've been out of lockdown for the month of September since March last year. My son-in-law had to work from home with a 2-year-old on the 26th floor of an apartment, no playgrounds, no nothing open. He had to do that for 6 months. They went to they wanted to get their son's haircut a couple of weeks ago. They had to drive for an hour. They hired a car and drove for an hour to get to a town that had a hairdresser open.
Crikey.
That's in the last 14 months.
Wow.
They were looking forward to Easter because they were released, slowing down on the quarantining, not the quarantining, the lock-up. They were going out to dinner on Sunday night. They had to sit outside. It's still, very low temperatures, but they were going out to dinner to sit outside on Sunday night. On Friday night, they locked them all down again and they missed that dinner.
Jeez.
Yeah,
This is 14 months of lockdown.
Yeah, it's staggering.
We're complaining about 3 days. Get a life, guys. Honestly,
No.
we are so lucky. We shouldn't even have the vaccine in Australia. We should be sending it overseas so they can get their acts together. Then we can have it and we can travel again. We can't travel again if they've got numbers like they've got.
Yeah. Good on you, Sandra.
Thank you, Sandra.
Appreciate the call. 8223 0000 is the number. You can text us on the Telstra Store Mount Barker text line as well. 18 minutes after 7. In a moment, we'll talk about the Australians news poll analysis this morning that suggests South Australia is now the least friendly state to the federal coalition. And we've got a simple question for you. Why are you off the coalition? Why are you off the Liberal Party federally? Let us know, 8223 0000, the number. You can text us on the Telstra Store Mount Barker text line. It's time to check traffic thanks to Dave Potter. Their Mad March demo clearance on now with huge savings and factory bonuses across the range.
Green Hill Road near Unley Road, a burst water main with a speed at 40 both ways in the city. Port Wakefield Highway between Copper Coast Road, Port Wakefield down to 25. Up in Port Wakefield, a sheet of barrier damage. South Road getting busy at Anzac Highway thanks to RAA's free app. All South Aussies can now find the cheapest fuel in an instant. Download the My RAA app from your app store today. It's free, even if you're not an RAA member. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Leon Biner.
We're nearly 4 million doses behind schedule in immunising people. Why? The failure to administer the 2.4 million doses we have, plus the need that's unmet that we don't have, means we're in a bit of a problem.
9 till 12 weekdays.
There are countries far less sophisticated than Australia that have actually done a much better job. Can you believe this?
On 5AA.
Building amazing homes is important to Beechwood Homes, and so is the environment. So when you build with Beechwood, you're building a better environment for our kids and grandkids. Around 70% of scrap materials from every Beechwood home is recycled. Bricks, rubble, timber, gyprock and steel, none of it goes to landfill. It's all sorted and recycled. So life really is good. It's even better in a Beechwood home. Take a look at the stunning Beechwood display home in Blackwood Park.
Keeping your business connected as you grow from here to here. It starts with a business mobile plan that helps you work on the go. Search Optus Business today. Great business starts with yes.
I'll tell you what, you don't need to put your Walco blankie out at the moment, do you, Will?
If you put it out, put it back in.
You're doing it wrong.
You're
doing it wrong.
We appreciate your enthusiasm, and everyone at Walco appreciates what you're trying to do.
Yeah, exactly.
But Mother Nature says, Walco blankie back in the sheddy.
No need for Walco blankie, because it's the game that we hear in the evenings right across Adelaide. Normally, proud pool owners putting their pool to sleep, but as we've established, you'd be a fool to be doing that right
exactly
now. You'd be
right.
unrolling the Walco blankie.
Pat, put it. The only thing better than putting the blankie out is putting the blankie away.
That's right, exactly.
Long evenings, magpies warbling, and putting your Walco blanket over your pool.
But winter is allegedly coming at some stage. No more long shadows. In fact, maybe this coming weekend might be time to roll out the Walco blankie. Because at some point, weather being what it is, inevitably, there will be a time when you do need your Walco Guardian pool cover.
I don't know, carbon emissions being what they are. Anyway, you know your pool is being looked after during winter with a Walco Guardian pool cover.
We don't want Extinction Rebellion turning up.
It's not all downside.
That's right. The great thing about the Walco Guardian pool cover, it seals off your chemicals from the light, keeps your water clean, and you don't need your pump at all, so you save megabucks.
So get your pool a Walco Guardian for winter now. Your pool will thank you for it. Walco.com.au.
Two of Us, the songs of Lennon and McCartney. Celebrated by two of Australia's most applauded performers, Damien Leith and Darren Coggan. Relive the songs the whole world sang along with. Norwood Concert Hall, Friday, April 23, and the Barossa Arts Centre, Saturday, April 24. Tickets on sale now through bass.net.au.
When people walk through the doors at Pals, the first thing they say is wow. Not only because of the size and the selection, but also because of the team. Sam and Jamie have tasted every drop. They and their team can recommend a whiskey that's just as good as that hard-to-find Japanese one, if they don't have it, that is. Or a beautiful red that's reminiscent of that outstanding cellar door you once travelled so far to visit. Parafield Airport Liquor Store. Pals, next to Roulette's Tavern, Kings Road, Parafield.
9 News, weeknights at 5, nightly at 6. The switch is on to the news that's live and local. 9 News, made in Adelaide.
At Bob Jane T-Marts, there's deals for safer holiday driving. Visit bobjane.com.au. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
23 minutes after 7, the Australian's done some analysis of all the news polls since the start of the year. We always get the headline figure. For example, the last one on March 28th, 52-48, Labor's way federally. But we don't get much in terms of a deep dig down on what that data is comprised of, and it turns out it's actually pretty interesting. The worst state for the federal coalition is South Australia. The worst state.
They'd lose Boothby on these figures.
Again, they can be the worst state and lose only one seat. Says everything about how relevant South Australia currently is to federal politics. Which interestingly is what some of the feedback we're getting is. Ben from Happy Valley says we've got no marginal seats, so both political parties treat SA with contempt. And that's what I take from the news poll results. Why is South Australia, we particularly off the federal coalition? Interested in people's thoughts. 8223 0000 is the number. The Australian analysis is even suggesting that on this basis and what they're seeing in Western Australia with regard to what federal and state results do for the brand overall, that Stephen Marshall would lose the next election. Now, I reckon that's a bridge too far.
Yeah.
At this point. But they're saying, based in WA, there is an expectation that federal Labor will perform much better because of the damage done to the Liberal Party at the last state election.
Well, they've only got 2 seats.
That's right.
Out of 80-odd seats.
So
they don't exist as an opposition. They are dead.
Well, they're not the opposition.
No, the National Party.
Yeah, the National Party of the opposition.
South Australia's always been historically harder for Conservative Liberal governments. I think in part because, and you just used the term yourself off air, Will, Adelaide is a bit of a government town.
Mm.
As a proportion of the workforce, the public service is higher here than it is in the eastern states. And the other thing too is SA's always had a more small L Liberal progressive streak.
Mm.
I mean, this is the state that gave Don Dunstan several terms. It was the home of the Australian Democrats. There's always an appetite for third-way politics, as seen with Nick Xenophon. You know, you've got Rebecca Sharkey beating Jamie Briggs up in Mayo. That's part of it. But I'm not sure if there's anything unique about Scott Morrison that, on the basis of this poll, is rubbing people up the wrong way. I think, too, SA wants to feel like Canberra's its champion. And this is why John Howard was always attuned and would call me into the when I was working for the Tiser in Canberra. Every 3 months I'd get a call from John Howard's press office saying, the PM wants to see you for half an hour. And he'd talk about things like the Alice Springs to Darwin rail link, or he'd talk about even things like saving the Australia Day test, which he had an opinion on, or being upset on behalf of Christians once about an Adelaide Festival poster. Like, he always sounded like he was paying attention. And you think about the fact that, you know, it's been more than almost 6 months now since they missed the deadline for the subs jobs announcement, the maintenance jobs. It sort of feels like maybe part of it's Pine disappearing.
Mm.
You know, who's the champion for SA now in the Morrison government?
Is it that, or is it South Australia reverting to type? As you mentioned, government town, you'd think since Playford, at certainly state election level, so 1962, 12 of the next 17 elections were won by the Labor Party in South Australia. So is the hostility to the coalition federally something new, or is that just South Australia? Well, that's what we're interested in finding out this morning. 8223 0000. You can text us on the Telstra Stormont Barker text line 044808 1395. We'll take a break from that and talk sport for a moment. Stephen Rowe joins us. Thanks to the wonderful people at North Point Toyota. Used vehicle stock always changing at North Point Toyota, Hillcrest, Prospect and Port Augusta. That is the North Point way. Good morning to you, Stephen Rowe.
Penberthy, Will, good morning. What a ripping Easter, hey? A great round of footy too. Crows won, some would say Port lost. The team kicked 167 points. 6 teams kicked over 100, a 1 point after siren win. It's the forwards, Tex with 6, Bruce 10, McKay 7. And I just think Sydney beating Richmond is huge for the comp. That was attack v defence, and attack won. Swans kicked 8 goals in that second quarter. Their ball movement was slick and elite. How are the Swans? They kicked 125 points round 1. Round 2 versus Crows, 122. Round 3, 117. I don't know, but Don Pike, the Swans, could clearly be the difference. Their ball movement, D50, F50, it's Crows circa 2017. Now, I know it's only early. I just hope AFL coaches sit back and look at the first 3 rounds and work out how do they attack more and not how they defend better.
Yeah, totally.
They've also played three kids with no experience this year, which is something Don Pike never would have done. So I don't know if he can be credited with all the success there at Sydney at the moment.
But that's the story of the first 3 rounds. Just quickly, Port got jumped. They were outclassed early. Then they were out-muscled. It was their first real test, and they lost. Nick Nat's ruck work was just next-level centre square. Port couldn't get it back. Some are calling them flat-track bullies. They got Richmond Friday night. That promises to be a ripper. And just on the Crows, well, it was on the back of a brilliant 6-goal game by Tex. How good's he going? 6-5, 6, 17 goals. And the last quarter dominance of Riley O'Brien. Have a look at his last quarter when their ruckman went down. Crows' endeavour and work rate is the pleasing thing for me. They're getting inside 50s, quality ball. They got North Melbourne Sunday at Marvel. Could they?
Yeah.
Could they win 2 in a row? Could they? I'll be playing Can You Feel It? Fair dinkum.
They'll be 6 from 7, Rowie.
It'll be fascinating to see how they go
7.
with expectation.
They got North Melbourne, then they got Freo.
When was the last time the Crows went into a game with the expectation is they will win an away game?
Piece of cake.
I'll be fascinated to see what the mentality is going to be.
Nah, it's excellent. Massive show. We've got big stud treaders. We'll speak to the Crows and Port. Fellas, what a cracking Easter. Weather-wise, again, we're blessed. I've always said it, we live in the best state of the best country in the world.
100%.
See you at 4.
Good on you, Rowie. Used vehicle stock always changing at North Point Toyota Hillcrest Prospect in Port Augusta. It is the North Point way.
The next phase of COVID-19 vaccinations is now underway across South Australia. This phase includes healthcare and high-risk workers, people 70 and over, adults with underlying medical conditions, and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. COVID-19 vaccines have proven safe and effective around the world, so play your part and roll up if it's your turn. To find out if you're eligible and to locate your nearest clinic, visit covidvaccine.sa.gov.au.
A message from the Government of South Australia.
Taking time to listen can make all the difference. Farrell & O'Neill Funerals is a South Australian family company committed to guiding and supporting families at an emotional time. We value a lifetime by offering a compassionate, caring and unique service with attention to the smallest detail. Finding guidance through a difficult time can be comforting. Farrell & O'Neill Funerals, 8296 3134.
This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Sunny and 27 today with the 7:30 news. I'm Mel Usher.
Woken with a stiff neck or sore back? Get a Physio Extra appointment today. 6 locations, physioextra.com.
Major crash officers are investigating a fatal crash at Brookunga in the Adelaide Hills last night. Senior Constable Dave Muir says a Ford Ute crashed into a tree on Pirates Road just north of the township.
The driver there, a 28-year-old local man, was airlifted to Royal Adelaide Hospital with life-threatening injuries, but unfortunately his passenger, a 39-year-old Nan man, died at the scene.
It was the second fatal crash on our roads over the Easter long weekend. A 24-year-old man died on Saturday morning at Hillier when his car hit a tree. The road toll now stands at 35. It was 31 at this time last year. A vigil will be held tonight for Anne-Marie Smith. The 54-year-old woman who suffered from cerebral palsy died a year ago today from neglect. Her death was declared a major crime after she succumbed to organ failure and septic shock. Her disability carer is facing manslaughter charges. The University of Queensland is hoping to revive its COVID vaccine candidate, but significant funding is needed to get it to human trials. Development was terminated in December last year when false positive HIV results came back during trials, but a clinical study has found the vaccine could be delivered in one dose and stored at fridge temperature. Infectious diseases expert Dr Paul Griffin says it would be another weapon in the fight against COVID.
With a candidate as exciting as this, it would be great to see it funded so that it can be progressed as quickly as possible. So, that's always challenging, and we are talking about a large sum of money that would be required. So, hopefully they'll get the funding they need to continue to do this exciting work.
Airlines are preparing for the return of quarantine-free travel between New Zealand and Australia. New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern is expected to announce the start date for the two-way travel bubble after a cabinet meeting today. Tourism NZ Andrew Waddle has told Nine it would be a huge boost for many operators who have been doing it tough.
Both for Australia and New Zealand, domestic played a big role in managing that sort of, the year without international tourists, but it can only go so far.
Boris Johnson says the UK's successful COVID vaccine rollout will allow England to take a major step out of lockdown next week. Nine's Ben Avery is in London.
Exactly 1 year since the British Prime Minister was admitted to hospital with COVID-19, he held a press conference to announce new freedoms for the people of England. From next Monday, non-essential shops, hairdressers and gymnasiums across the country will be allowed to reopen, while pubs, cafes and restaurants can welcome back patrons outdoors. What Boris Johnson couldn't say is when UK residents will again be allowed to enjoy a foreign holiday. The UK has recorded around 127,000 COVID-19 deaths, the highest toll in Europe.
Avocado extract could be the secret to staying young and slim. Scientists at the SA Health and Medical Research Institute are doing more tests after discovering the health benefits of avocado extract on glucose metabolism, diabetes risk markers and stress. Now turning to 5AA Sport.
Who loves South Australia as much as you do? Fluorio Milk Company. South Australian and proud of it.
Here's Tom Wren.
Thank you, Mel. Port Adelaide has welcomed back Sam Powell-Pepper after a month away from the club for personal leave. But General Manager of FIVEaa, the Power, Chris Davies, says he won't be back playing this week.
There's no doubt that he's going to have to spend some time getting back up to the pace of training, and when he plays again, that'll be another step forward. But what I can say is it won't be that this week.
And one game to wrap up round 3 yesterday, with Geelong holding on for a 5-point win against Hawthorn. To tennis, and Aussie Storm Sanders has moved into the second round of the Charleston Open following a first-up straight sets win. Ash Barty is also through to the second round after receiving a bye in the first. And in some soccer news, West Ham's hopes of qualifying for next season's European Champions League have received a massive boost after holding on for a 3-2 win against Wolverhampton this morning. The result sees the Hammers leapfrog Chelsea into 4th place. Earlier, Crystal Palace left it late to find an equaliser against Everton, the goal coming from their substitute.
Schlupp, Batshuayi in behind, and scores! Michy Batshuayi has only been on the pitch for about 2 minutes, and he rifles it into the corner of the Everton net. It's an excellent finish.
Yeah, that audio thanks to Optus, and that match finished in a 1-1 draw. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
Dave Potter, Australia's #1 Honda dealer, 2nd year running. DavePotterHonda.com.au.
Smash vanilla on the Southern Expressway near Young Street, off the road, but nonetheless delays are building for citybound from O'Sullivan Beach Road. Green Hill Road, only road in the city, a burst water main with the speed at 40 both ways. Port Wakefield Highway between Copper Coast Road and Port Wayfield, where we've got the speed down to 25 due to barrier damage. COVID-19 vaccinations are now available for people 70 years and over. Roll up now. Visit covidvaccine.sa.gov.au for more information. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Audi Solitaire, Metro Dealer of the Year. Visit audisolitaire.com.au.
Sunny today, 27, sunny tomorrow, 28, Thursday, partly cloudy, 31. Right now it's 13 degrees. More news as it happens on 5AA.
Well, now we're joined by another happy Arbor Vitae customer. We all know by now that Arbor Vitae Joint Health contains potent, natural, anti-inflammatory and antioxidant ingredients, which may provide a whole bunch of benefits. Gary, when did you start taking Arbor Vitae, and what for?
3 years ago, I started taking it for mild osteoarthritis. I had some pain in my knee. I'd heard about a product on the local radio station. I took it for 2 weeks and my pain simply went away.
Am I right in saying you were told you may need a knee replacement?
I just turned 50 and they were talking about a knee replacement. And I thought, well, I may as well go and do it. And only that I heard about this product, the fear of a scalpel led me towards it. And I thought, well, what the hell, I'll give it a go, and the rest is history. It's brilliant.
So, Gary, you're a forklift driver. Your job, no doubt, would have a high level of labour involved. You've noticed significant benefits for you.
Yeah, after 2 weeks, I was sceptical that it might come back, and it hasn't. So, yeah, I do a lot of off and on, up and down. I'm pain-free, so hopefully it stays that way and forever.
So your message for everyone then, if they have any joint pain?
Take my word for it. Just take it. The worst that you can do is not like it or it doesn't work. That's the worst that can happen. Other than that, just give it a go.
Gary, thank you so much for that. If you'd like more information or you want to order, you can visit arborvitae.com.au or call 1300 879 863. Always follow the directions for use. This medicine may not be right for you. Read the label before purchase, and if symptoms persist, talk to your health professional.
At Bob Jane T-Marts, there's deals for safer holiday driving. Visit bobjane.com.au. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
22 minutes to 8 after 8 o'clock this morning. We'll speak with Phil Palmer from the Ambulance Association. We've had another incident over the weekend where they say, had they been properly resourced, Ambos would have got to an incident at Encounter Bay near Victor Harbour over the weekend where a man ultimately died. They were tied up and too busy. We've had a number of these. Now the Ambulance Association are pointing them out almost as they happen. We'll speak with Phil Palmer about that a little bit later this morning. Today is a significant day in Adelaide. Nat Cook, a local MP who you'll doubtless be familiar with, has started a vigil that will take place to remember Anne-Marie Smith, who died at just the age of 54 years of age. She was a cerebral palsy sufferer, lived in the most horrifying conditions. And it's worth going back. They're always referred to now, almost euphemistically, as horrible and terrible, and it was bad. because it's too horrible to read about every morning.
Yeah,
If you go back and read about what this woman lived through, sitting in a cane chair for months on end, no one coming to take care of her.
No, it's disgusting.
Today, she's remembered, and it means there's a host of people in town, including Bill Shorten, the Shadow Government Services Minister, who joins us now. Bill Shorten, good morning to you.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Bill, thanks for joining us. We've been talking to Nat Cook a lot, who has been one of the prime movers of tonight's vigil. I think the question everybody wants answered is, what has changed since Anne-Marie died?
Well, some things have changed, but but not enough has changed. Hats off, first of all, to Nat Cook. She wears her heart on her sleeve, and for her, being spokesperson for people with disabilities in the Malinauskas opposition isn't just a job, it's a calling. So that's why I'm coming tonight, because Anne-Marie deserves to be remembered. But going to the heart of your question, listen, the Safeguards Commission, which is the regulator who's meant to oversee if people are getting properly cared for, has had extra money after Labor called for it and extra staff employed. But I still don't know if we've learned the lessons, and I am worried that neglect could still be going on, neglect which can lead to shocking and avoidable injuries and deaths such as Anne-Marie endured.
Because the thing about there are so many aspects of her life and her death that are horrible, but I think, in a way, the worst part of it is that this woman had been alone for so long. The loneliness aspect is the saddest, I think, and isn't there a recommendation to have, like, face-to-face visits so that there are people out in the field making sure that people like Anne-Marie, even if it's once a week, have someone who knock on their door and make sure that they're doing okay? Why hasn't that been acted on?
Well, good question. I think there should be a visitor program. I mean, this is people's houses. You've always got to make sure that people don't mind having people come into their houses. But I think one of the risks in the system where you've got someone with profound disability is that if you've just got one carer, then that creates a challenge where if that one carer doesn't do their job, then the person's in real trouble. So I like the idea of when people get their NDIS packages, this is government support, federal government support, they're identified at the outset as being a vulnerable person and would require checking, not just by one person. You just can't leave someone's life in the hands of one person alone. So I think that if you have that instituted at the start of when someone gets a package, that's important, that's a red flag. I like the idea of a community visitor program. I like the idea that there's people in our community who would like to spend a little time keeping in touch with other people. These people are out there and they want to help. And I think that provided the person who's being visited consents to it, I think it is a good idea. I don't know why the federal government hasn't done it, to be honest. I just don't know.
What is the model for that sort of quality assurance, for want of a better turn of phrase, that checking in and making sure that some minimum standard is at least being adhered to?
Well, we used to have community visitor programs in our psychiatric institutions where someone would come and visit someone. So it's been done in Victoria that I'm aware of, and no doubt other jurisdictions. So I don't think this is rocket science. You've got to make sure that the person who's being visited consents. In other words, just having some do-gooding stranger turn up at your house can be an intrusion on your privacy. But having identified a person as vulnerable, having worked through and consulted with the person when they're receiving the funds for caring, I think that we do need some check and balance to make sure that what is being promised to be done for this vulnerable person is actually occurring. That's why I think it's the bones of a solution. And again, we're not inventing the wheel. It's already been done.
Absolutely. Bill Shorten, the Shadow Minister for Government Services, thanks so much for joining us, and good on you for coming here for the vigil tonight. Cheers, Bill.
Yeah, it'll be at Parliament House. People will assemble at 5:45. It won't be very long, but if people think it's an issue, then they're welcome to come along. Nat Cook said for me to repeat that invitation, and the steps of Parliament House, it's not big. There's not a big fuss. There's no flags or big ceremony or bugles. It's just a quiet reminder that the death of any one person affects us all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Tell you what, you think about things like the GAP program, which is an excellent program for unwanted greyhounds. You think about all the RSPCA volunteers who look after all of the abandoned dogs and cats that end up at Lonsdale. But you compare that to what happened to Anne-Marie. Like it's just horrible, isn't it?
So much of this area, these social services that get people are only really aware of how difficult it is when they have to engage with it, and the majority of the population spends the majority of their lives not thinking about it or worrying about it, and then suddenly you become to rely on it, and you think, is this seriously how we do things in this country?
Totally.
And so that's why these vigils are important, because it suddenly puts it to the forefront of the mind for people who otherwise won't have to engage with it until a much later point in their life.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's 15 minutes to 8, 8223 0000 is the number. You can text us too on the Telstra Storm Out Barker text. I'm getting a few of those through. Couple of thoughts, David, on why it might be that the coalition suddenly less popular here in South Australia.
I like this one from Dave M, who says, I vote Labor, as did my dad and his dad before him. No wonder we're so far behind the other states. That's a good backhanded insult to yourself, Dave.
What about Rock, who says Stephen Marshall smiles at every press conference no matter what the news?
Does he? I've seen a few where he hasn't looked that smiley.
Yeah. I think you're in a no-win situation when you're not the speaker at a press conference. When you're in the shot, but you're behind, and you either nod too much, you frown at the wrong moment, or you smile and it looks weird.
He's had a lot of them, I guess, where he's had to stand there while the commissioner and the chief medical officer do all the talking.
They've had a lot of responsibility, haven't they?
They have.
14 to 8. All right, let's check traffic. Thanks to Dave Potter. Their Mad March demo clearance is on right now with huge savings and factory bonuses across the range.
Busy on the Southern Expressway, Ranella near Young Street due to a smash near there. Delays for citybound from O'Sullivan Beach Road. Greenhill Road, Unley Road, a burst water main with a speed at 40 both ways. Busy also for South Road at Anzac Highway and Payneham Road from Glen Corner. Looking for a fun, feel-good movie the whole family will enjoy these holidays? See everyone's favourite cat and mouse duo on the big screen in Tom and Jerry the movie, only in cinemas now. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Hey, congrats on the promotion. What'd you do?
Oh, I upskilled.
Yeah?
Yeah, did a few courses at WEA. Or, as we like to say, I WEA'd it.
With new courses going up every week, you can WEA anything. wea-sa.com.au. If you're planning an event, whether it's a small meeting with the latest in reliable technology or a large gala dinner full of glitz and glamour, you'll experience event excellence on every level at the Adelaide Convention Centre. Excellence in understanding your needs and delivering them to exacting standards is what we do. And we don't just aim for excellence, we go beyond. So for your next excellent event, the team is ready and waiting at the Adelaide Convention Centre, the centre of event excellence.
Home renovations can be akin to climbing Everest. Every step of the way can be torturous to reach your ultimate goal. Well, the same could be said for home renovations, but not if you go with Bi-Urban Bathrooms and Kitchens. The team at Bi-Urban have always believed the journey is just as important as the destination. So start your journey with Bi-Urban Bathrooms and Kitchens, Adelaide's home renovation experts. Visit biurban.com.au.
Get in here. It's Sheeds. We don't have the time to mess around. We can't afford any more downtime, and we need a result. It's about trust, and for hydraulic hose repairs, Ryco 24/7 are the ones. They'll get to you wherever you are. Their vans are on the road with fully qualified repairers, and they are supported by that other great South Australian team, BL Shipway, who I've known for over 30 years. Call Ryco 24/7 on 133247 or visit ryco247.com.au.
No one wants to spend their weekend in emergency. So if you hurt yourself on a Saturday or Sunday, Dr. Greg Keane says come and see SportsMed instead.
The doctors at our weekend injury clinic can treat any sporting or orthopaedic injuries right away. You won't have to wait all afternoon.
And a standard consult costs less than a private hospital emergency department, right?
Much less.
World-class care without the wait. SportsMed.
Start living life again after your injury.
sportsmed.com.au.
Hey, that looks amazing. How did you get so good at Photoshop?
Oh, I just WEA'd it. It was easy. Anyone can do it.
With new courses going up every week, you can WEA anything. wea-sa.com.au.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. At Bob Jane T-Marts, there's deals for safer holiday driving. Visit bobjane.com.au. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
11 and 8. Chelsea Carey from 9 News is off this week on leave. Good week to have leave. You know what? If anyone can pick when to have leave and marry it up with the weather, it's got to be the weather reporter, doesn't it?
That's the crystal ball you'd want.
That's right.
I mean, getting the odd footy result right's one thing, but you'd rather know that, you know, that the June long weekend is going to be X and go, all right, that's I'll plan my holiday accordingly.
Did we reveal yet you had another vision on the weekend that turned out to be true, or are we going to keep that for breaking at 8?
I'm trouble keeping up.
I've seen the receipts. You predicted the margin in the Crows game.
I did actually.
At 3/4 time, when things were looking on a knife's edge.
I said Crows by 9.
You said Crows by 9.
I've said that twice this year, Crows by 9. I just keep saying it. If you will, it is their dream.
All right.
I got to say, Will, I should admit that my commitment to quiet reflection was sorely tested during the final quarter on Good Friday.
That's why I texted you afterwards, because I wasn't sure whether you'd seen any of what had transpired.
See, I thought you were almost trolling me.
I was trolling you.
That text was hilarious.
The siren had just gone, and in a moment of jubilation.
Here it is. 9:56 p.m. Friday, a text from Will says, "Hope you're enjoying your quiet reflection, mate." This is while he's at the ground rolling around on his back going, "Ah!"
Yeah, everyone was singing the song at that point.
I didn't go. I was at home. I had a nice fish dinner with Mum and Dad and the kids down at Aldinga. Well, Kate was at the ground. She was there, 100%, you know. Crows tragic. But I did watch it, and it did interrupt the quiet reflection.
9 minutes to 8. The weather is tremendous for the next couple of days. 27 the top today. Winds fairly light, southeasterly 15 to 20 k's an hour, tending southeast to southwesterly through the middle of the day. They'll become a southeasterly and pick up a little 25 to 35 in the early arvo. Tomorrow will be 28, so it actually warms up again as opposed to cooling down. Thursday is going to hit a top of 31, and again with light winds, just a picture-perfect sort of a day. Friday, 27. Again, if you had all this week off to capitalise on Easter, you couldn't have timed it better. 27 on Friday, before it does cool off a little bit for the weekend. Saturday will be 21, with the slight chance of a shower, 30% chance of a shower on Saturday, according to the Bureau right now. On Sunday, it'll be 21 and clear. Monday, 22. So next couple of days, sensational Adelaide days. It is time for John Blake. Thanks to Aussie Fast Transport Solutions, Interstate Freight Distribution, Warehousing and local Adelaide couriers. Call Aussie Fast, 13 1364.
And now, journalist and 5AA broadcaster David Penberthy with another tip for real happiness.
If you want to be happy for the rest of your life, here is David Penberthy with advice. After the words he's about to narrate, you might want to go and buy the book by Kate.
Yeah, good morning, Will, and good morning, listeners. This is David Penberthy with another tip for real happiness. If you want to be really happy, write an article for the Advertiser, but then make sure you don't read the comments section, because if you do, you'll feel like crap for the rest of the day. I wrote an article for the Advertiser about the disgrace that is the government's handling of the vaccine rollout. I did a lot of research about how other countries that aren't as nice as our country have rolled out their vaccines a lot quicker than us, and that we're being lazy with it and not caring about the fact that businesses are relying on getting everybody vaccinated so the economy can get back up to where it was and people have enough income again. Far out, what's wrong with that? But sure enough, I get a bunch of douchebags in the comments section bashing me and calling me a lefty, like this one. Nice one, David. What else would a lefty journalist write about? Well, I'm not a lefty journalist. I like cooking and I think the police are doing their best to look after us. See? That's pretty right-wing. Here's another one. You seem to have plenty to say as usual, David, but what's your solution? Well, I don't think people should shoot other people, but I don't know how to stop people shooting other people. They hired me to have an opinion, and so did 5AA, and my opinion is you're a dickhead. I do get the occasional positive comment, though, like this one. I can't believe it, David, but you made a lot of sense. Yeah, that's one of those compliments that you get just before a bloke smacks you in the mouth. Good to read more liberal bashing from your article. How about a balanced view, Penberthy? Well, that's not fair. When I'm on 5AA, I bash Liberal and Labor equally. Even though I'm married to the former federal member for Adelaide, I'm professional enough not to let it get in the way of balanced opinion. By the way, the audio version of Sex, Lies and Question Time by Kate Ellis will be available online from tomorrow. You know, that'd be a winning reality show, wouldn't it? To have a camera planted in my house just to see what Labor policy ideas Kate and I disagree on. Well, I'm off to have an English muffin slathered with butter and topped with a bit of rocket and a bit of spinach and chorizo sausage and pureed chicken breast with a big dollop of eggplant and pepper pesto.
If you want to be happy for the rest of your life, that was Dave Penberthy with advice. Now that he's told you what it's all about, you might feel an urgent need to say,
far out. I tell you what, I'm not going to Blakey's house for breakfast if that's what he's going to cook.
No, that sounded absolutely miserable. The mental gymnastics required to think criticising the vaccine rollout as some sort of leftist plot is just tremendous.
Yeah.
Someone had the acumen to log on to an account to leave that comment. Because in some myopic views, any criticism of any political party has to have been some sort of ideologically motivated crusade, as opposed to a statement of fact. Australia is trailing the rest of the world on the rollout.
Doesn't matter if it's columns or making a comment on social media though these days, because so many people will comment, particularly on Twitter. They'll look at their headline because they don't subscribe, so they can't read a 800-word piece. You get the sense some of them probably struggle to make it through that far anyway. But the fact that so many people make a comment on something like Twitter where they haven't actually been physically able to read the article shows that, you know, people just come at things, a lot of people, the annoying people come at things from their pre-existing party allegiance. But, you know, everyone can say whatever they want, though.
That's right. It's the beauty of this country.
Yep. Just go for it, you know. Cut loose.
You might think having thousands of pals is excessive, but that's not what the team at Parafield Airport Liquor Store think, because that's how many they have. Sure, they might be made up of over 100 gins, over 200 whiskies, over 300 craft beers, and over 2,000 boutique wines. But they're some of the best pals you could have, and they're always looking for more, even if they are tricky to track down. Parafield Airport Liquor Store. Pals, next to Roulette's Tavern, Kings Road, Parafield.
As I look deep into my crystal ball, I see your future. Bright and full of promise. Oh!
Yes?
I see.
Yes?
I see.
What? What is it? What do you see?
No, it's gone.
Lost your picture or need to improve your picture quality? Call Jim's Antennas. With technicians on the road all over SA, we'll have it fixed in no time. Call 131 546 or visit jimsantennas.com.au.
We hear you. You've lived enough to know you want more. More time, more freedom, more living. Introducing Encore Apartments from ECH, a new vertical retirement village at Modbury, opposite Tea Tree Plaza. 77 two-bedroom apartments, all with private balconies, plus on-site cafe, fitness centre and community garden. Book an appointment to see the new display suite at Parkside or visit echencore.com.au.
The pieces just came together, from the enlistment form to the discharge papers signed after Gallipoli. He was my great-uncle Jack the Anzac, and now his story is part of mine.
There could be more to your story too. Piece it together with ancestry.com.au.
Visit the Reject Shop for the cheapest snacks and essentials, with 400ml Morning Fresh just $2, 150-gram bags of Bluebird chips for $2, and 500-gram pasta packs only 50 cents. The Reject Shop, cheapest every day.
9 News, weeknights at 5, nightly at 6. The switch is on to the news that's live and local. 9 News, made in Adelaide. At Bob Jane T-Marts, there's deals for safer holiday driving. Visit bobjane.com.au. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
2 minutes to 8. Back in 2015, the state government committed $9 million to upgrade Adelaide Oval number 2. The idea being it should host some more Shield games. Seems the wheels of government are trying to make sure that's all that happens there in 2021.
Yeah, no, Shield is the future very much. I've got to say, if there's an old saying that newspapers are like a mirror being held up to a city. Well, if you use today's copy of the Advertiser as a test for that, it would seem that here in Adelaide we're just really, really good at complaining about things. Page 9, little brief, Sterling to get Aldi Supermart. A controversial Aldi store in the Adelaide Hills is now weeks away from opening despite residents' protests. That's about a supermarket on Pomona Road. Then if you go to page 11, A plan for a large car park to serve Mount Lofty Botanic Garden has come under scrutiny by Adelaide Hills locals, who believe the project will spoil the landscape. The 180-space car park proposal at Crafers is being assessed by the state's planning authority. Neighbours are seeking legal advice to determine whether the car park complies with planning rules. Then if you go to page 10, this is about the building in the Barossa, the hotel named The Slug. The future of a $50 million 12-storey hotel planned for Seppeltsfield Winery is playing out in the Environment, Resources and Development Court. Locals who describe the hotel as The Slug say it's out of character with the area and was incorrectly classified as a Category 2 development. And then if you go to page 3, the story you were talking about, Will, there is a proposal that's going to be discussed tonight at the Adelaide City Council about capping the number of concerts that can be played on Oval number 2 at just 6 a year. Just 6 a year. And they've had, this is the SMA, the Stadium Management Authority, has had more than 1,000 responses from members of the public, many of them saying that the use of Oval number 2 for concerts, even though these are one night only, you know, a few plastic chairs down the front, standing at the back, no long-term damage done whatsoever to the lawn area, but letters saying this represents commercialisation of the parklands and alienating the space from general use and access. It's funny, isn't it? Got a really interesting email from Anne Moran after our discussion, both on air and then in the paper, about the second sudden resignation of Robert Sims and the cost that is going to impose on ratepayers. Do you know what the email just said? What a creep you are.
What did you do that was creepy?
Well, I guess talked about the cost and the fact that there was originally a plan for some sort of send-off for this bloke who has betrayed his contract with the community.
Already cost ratepayers hundreds of thousands of dollars.
We should know. We made exactly the same criticism of Hussam Abiad when he quit mid-term as well.
Absolutely.
So it's not a, whatever they're called, Team Adelaide versus Team Non-Adelaide. Like, not interested in that crap. But I just thought, getting an email like that saying what a creep you are on the basis of us having a discussion about how this undeniably is going to impose a cost on the public, it gives you a bit of an insight into what it must be like to deal with somebody like her.
Well, you don't, clearly.
Weird. Anyway, whole list of things there to complain about, and we seem to be doing a terrifically good job at it.
We're the masters of the ultimate contradiction in South Australia, where we can complain about everything that happens and then also that nothing ever happens.
Yeah.
Breaking date's coming up in just a moment.
Online, on DAB Digital Radio, and on 1395 AM. Talking Adelaide. This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Sunny and 27 today with the 8 o'clock news. I'm Mel Usher.
FIVEaa Extra is a registered NDIS provider, so let them support you in achieving your goals. FIVEaAextra.com.
The state road toll has risen following 2 separate crashes over the long weekend. A 39-year-old man from Nairn was killed last night when his ute slammed into a tree at Brakunga. His 28-year-old passenger is in hospital in a critical condition. On Saturday, a 24-year-old man died at Hillier when his car hit a tree. Senior Constable Dave Muir is appealing for information on both incidents.
We are asking anyone who saw either of these vehicles prior to crashing or has any information that may assist with the investigations to give us a call via Crime Stoppers on 1800 333 000. And we've now had 35 lives lost on our road this year as compared to 31 for this time last year. 35 more than we should have.
A vigil will be held tonight to remember Anne-Marie Smith a year after her death. Kendall Brettig reports.
54-year-old Anne-Marie Smith died in hospital from organ failure and septic shock. It later emerged the cerebral palsy sufferer had spent the last year of her life sitting in a cane chair in her Kensington Park home. Her carer was charged with manslaughter, the case shining a spotlight on the NDIS and disability services sector. Ms Smith's death sparked a number of investigations, but former opposition leader Bill Shorten, who'll attend tonight's vigil, says very little has changed in the years since.
Coronavirus restrictions are set to be wound back in England, but the Prime Minister says it's too soon to start planning a summer holiday abroad. The country is introducing some freedoms from next week as non-essential businesses are given the green light to reopen. But Boris Johnson says the UK will begin testing a COVID status certification system, which will consist of 3 checks.
If you had the virus before, or certainly in the last 6 months, you'll have the antibodies. Number 2, obviously, is vaccination status. But number 3 is testing, and testing really is valuable.
Holidays in New Zealand will soon be an option. Nine's Brian Wilson has more.
New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern is expected to announce the start date for the quarantine-free two-way travel bubble between Australia and New Zealand today. Airline booking systems show April 12 or 19 as the most likely commencement dates. The travel corridor will require 6 separate controls to be met, including contact tracing, management of transit passengers and response procedures in the event of an outbreak.
The earth has been moving in Los Angeles. A series of earthquakes has rocked the city and surrounds. The biggest tremor, clocking in at 4 on the Richter scale, centred near LAX. Aftershocks are still being recorded. There are no reports of damage or injuries. Disgraced movie producer Harvey Weinstein has asked an appeals court in New York State to throw out his conviction for sexual assault and rape. He wants a new trial. Weinstein says the trial judge made several errors which cost him an impartial jury. Now turning to 5AA Sport.
3 words make a big difference to our local dairy farmers. Fluorio Milk Company. In your supermarket now.
It's over to Tom Wren.
Thank you, Mel. Adelaide's players will hit the training track today after enjoying a day off yesterday. The Crows will now turn their attention to North Melbourne on Sunday at Marvel Stadium. It's been a strong start from Adelaide with 2 wins from their opening 3 rounds. Defender Tom Doedee telling Channel 9 the influence and leadership of captain Rory Sloane has been significant.
Drags the rest of the young blokes up as well, which is something that's sort of hard to quantify, but it's very noticeable in game when you see Sammy Berry's pressure and Harry Schomburg getting after it and all these younger blokes, they follow Sloane's lead.
Port Adelaide midfielder Sam Powell-Pepper has returned to Alberton a month after taking personal leave from the club. And there was one match to wrap up round 3 yesterday with Geelong beating Hawthorn by 5 points. One match also to wrap up round 4 of the NRL yesterday with Parramatta making it 4 from 4 with a 36-22 point win against the West Tigers. To cricket in South Australia will be chasing plenty of runs early on day 4 of its Sheffield Shield match against Victoria. The Redbacks to resume at 5 for 151, giving them an overall lead of 119 runs with 1 day to play. After several lay days, the Rip Curl Pro Heats are underway in Newcastle this morning. The event was moved from Bells Beach this year. And players have begun practicing at Augusta ahead of the US Masters, which begins on Thursday night our time. There are 5 Aussies: Mark Leishman, Jason Day, Cam Smith, Matt Jones, and our only ever champion at the event, Adam Scott, who'll be looking to claim the coveted green jacket. And that's the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
Dave Potter, Australia's #1 Honda dealer, 2nd year running. DavePotterHonda.com.au.
A smash vanilla on the Southern Expressway near Young Street, which is off the road. Crews are clearing that one. Citybound is slow. Greenhill Road, Unley Road, a burst will remain in the city with a speed at 40. Other traffic hotspots: North East Road, Ogie Road, Grange Road at South Road. Myer has Easter treats for everyone with 25% off women's intimates, including brands like Burley and Triumph. Exclusions and conditions apply. Hurry ends today. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Audi Solitaire, Metro Dealer of the Year. Visit audisolitaire.com.au.
27 for your Tuesday and sunny. Sunny tomorrow, 28. Right now it's 16. More news as it happens on 5AA.
In the last hour on Adelaide's 5AA.
Dr. Chris Moy is the South Australian President of the AMA, the Australian Medical Association, and joins us now on 5AA Breakfast.
It's not your normal blood clotting, and the main message is that there is no increased rate of blood clotting caused by vaccines overall. This is occurring at about the rate of about 1 in 100,000, maybe 1 in 500,000 people who get the jab.
Sandra in Glengarry's called in.
Makes my blood boil every time people talk about the virus and how hard done by we are in Australia. I've got a daughter who's a doctor and moved to Toronto. They've been out of lockdown for the month of September since March last year.
Started a vigil that will take place to remember Anne-Marie Smith, who died just the age of 54 years of age. She was a cerebral palsy sufferer. Bill Shorten, the Shadow Government Services Minister, who joins us now.
Safeguard Commission, which is the regulator who's meant to oversee if
people are getting properly cared for, has had extra money and extra staff employed. But I still don't know if we've learned the lesson.
You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
5 minutes after 8, Phil Palmer from the Ambulance Association will join us in about 10 minutes' time. Really disturbing story out of the weekend where a scuba diver died at Encounter Bay. The Ambulance Association say it took almost 25 minutes for an ambulance to arrive at the scene. Standard practice or best practice is you get there in 8, and they said it would have made a difference in this person's life. We'll speak with him very, very shortly. But first, it's time for Breaking at 8.
I caught up last week with the former Trade Minister in the Wetherill Labor government, Tom Kenyon, who a lot of northern suburbs residents would remember, was a long-serving member up there for the seat of Newland, I think, from memory, wasn't it? He's out of politics now, which gives him the freedom to speak his mind a little more vigorously. And the reason I got in touch with him was to get his thoughts as someone who was heavily involved in what the former Labor government referred to as its China strategy, where in the mid-2000s, when he was serving as Trade Minister, South Australia pulled back on some of its trade and sort of diplomatic presence in countries like the United Arab Emirates and also in Malaysia, saying that clearly the economic future of Australia and particularly South Australia was China. And this was at a time when the Chinese regime was a lot more genial. Clearly it's, always been in its modern incarnation a communist country, but it felt then that you could deal with China and that they were quite sort of amenable to the fact that while our countries differed, there was a hell of a lot that could be done in terms of reaching common ground for the good of the economy. Well, Tom Kenyon, and this is interesting too, as a member of the government, which let the Director General, the Coordinator General of Planning, give the green light to the controversial consulate project in Joslin, that was allowed to go ahead in 2016 as a symbol of the robust and rewarding economic and cultural relationship between China and South Australia. Well, you look at it now, the tariffs on our wine industry have been extended not just from 1 year, now up to 5 years. And Tom Kenyon had this to say: the relationship between Australia and China has fundamentally changed. Unfortunately, we no longer have the luxury of having a strong trading relationship with China and a strong political relationship with the US. And then he said, Australia needs to begin disengaging economically from China, or at the very least, limiting our exposure to the Chinese economy. When I took the role of Trade Minister, we were in the final days of Hu Jintao's presidency, and Australia, along with the rest of the world, had been engaging with China, expecting China to become more open and more collegiate. That all changed within a few months when the now permanent President Xi took over, as well as continuing his role heading the Chinese Communist Party. Since that time, the CCP has become more aggressive, more hostile, and more likely to interfere in events in foreign countries. So an interesting insight into how some of the thinking is now changing about a relationship that less than a decade ago we were tripping over ourselves to put all of our eggs into the China basket.
12 minutes after 8, we just received a call. There's been a 3-car crash on Henley Beach Road just after the bridge. It's causing big delays for city-bound emergency services currently at the scene, so best avoid it. Maybe it's done on Bradman Drive or another way, but suspect they'll all likely get a bit of overflow. Appreciate the call. At any time, if you see anything taking place out in our roads, let us know. 8223 0000. We appreciate the eyewitness accounts of what's happening. 3-car crash, Henley Beach Road, just over the bridge. All right, let's check traffic more broadly. Thanks to Dave Potter. They're Australia's #1 Honda dealer, second year running. DavePotterHonda.com.au.
A Runella, a smash on the Southern Expressway near Young Street, which is holding up citybound from Sheriff's Road. Henley Beach Road, Fulham Park Drive, citybound affected there in Lockleys with that smash. Greenhill Road, Unley Road, a burst water main in the city with the speed down to 40. KFC's $4.95 fill-up is now available for delivery. It's got hot cinnamony Kentucky Fried Donuts too, only on the KFC app. Offer only delivered in SA and not forever until 4 p.m. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Rowie Sport Show.
It's Rory Sloan o'clock. We're down at Henley Beach, just in front of Joe's kiosk. Tex Walker.
There you go.
6 goals, 3. Isn't it great to see him? He's infectious, that man. Love him.
Yeah, mate, he's in really, really good form.
4 p.m. weekdays.
The way Tex came back, he always has been. He's an ultimate pro, and he's setting a great example for everyone down there at the moment. And yeah, we're going to keep getting that from him all year, I reckon.
Rowie Sport Show on 5AA.
Walko, Blanky! Walko, Blanky! Walko, Blanky! This is a game Pool and I play. Each night I come out and put her Walko blankie on. Keeps her from evaporating. But winter is coming. Soon she'll need her Walko Guardian pool cover. Sure, the fun ends, but I know she's looked after. Chemicals sealed off from the light, water clean, and no need for your pump. Get your pool a Walko Guardian pool cover for winter. Walko.com.au.
Major road resurfacing works on the South Eastern Freeway between the Toll Gate and Hyson tunnels will be underway until mid-2021. Motorists should expect delays, so allow extra travel time. Visit dit.sa.gov.au/SE Freeway. A message from the Government of South Australia.
Now, have you ever heard the saying, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey?
I have.
It's usually what people say when you're doing something that's really unpleasant. Could not be true.
Like renovating.
Exactly right, that when it comes to home renovations, it's hard to get excited about a new bathroom or kitchen reno if the whole process has been a living nightmare.
Not so with Bi-Urban bathrooms and kitchens, where it is all about the journey. And that's because Coxie and the entire team go to amazing lengths to ensure the process is trouble-free. From meeting Tammy, who's affectionately known as the boss lady, through to their incredible design team and millimetre-perfect tradespeoples who are the tidiest tradies you'll ever meet. And what's more, they're on time.
So start your journey to a stunning and worry-free home renovation with Bi-Urban bathrooms, kitchens, flooring and shutters, Adelaide's home renovation experts. Just visit biurban.com.au.
Port Adelaide are back. And so are we. We're back marching. We're back singing. We're back together. Experience it live, loud and in person. 3-game memberships from just $100. Grab yours from the Port Adelaide website today. You've got to be there.
As I look deep into my crystal ball, I see your future. Bright and full of promise. Oh!
Yes?
I see.
Yes?
I see.
What? What is it? What do you see?
No, it's gone.
Lost your picture or need to improve your picture quality? Call Jim's Antennas. With technicians on the road all over SA, we'll have it fixed in no time. Call 131 546 or visit jimsantennas.com.au.
9 News, weeknights at 5, nightly at 6. The switch is on to the news that's live and local. 9 News, made in Adelaide. At Bob Jane T-Marts, there's deals for safer holiday driving. Visit bobjane.com.au. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
17 minutes after 8. Our number is 8223 0000. You can text us on the Telstra Store Mount Barker text line. After 8:30 today, we're going to talk about the big Scotty on the side of the Scotty's Motel that will be surrendered in the event that it makes way for a new housing development. The Chief Executive of the History Trust, Greg Mackey, wants to find a new home for it. It's been described in the Advertiser as an icon. Just want to put a theory out there, David Penberthy. Nobody cares about the Big Scotsman. Is there anyone out there that's heartbroken that the Big Scotsman there will no longer exist? So it's the main
We've
North
done a
Road.
quick straw poll in here, and it's currently batting at 9 out of 2.
It's on a 0. Main North Road, Nottage Terrace. I don't know. Well, it's always the marker when you know you're sort of you're finally sort of at the end of North East Road.
I think it's funny. I look at it and I go, "What about that?" There's a giant Scotsman bolted to the side of a building, but like, are we going to die in a ditch to save it? It's not a majestic Moreton Bay fig that's under. No. You know, it's not some historic old home.
No.
It's, I mean, just because something's been around for a long time and has been, comical and notable and memorable, Does it mean that, is it such a hugely important part of South Australia's cultural heritage that we need to treat it like it's, the Sistine Chapel or something?
I am the worst person to ask about these things because I don't like pandas, parklands, or just about anything that people... and I'm a big fan of basically all forms of new planning and development.
You'd replace it with a nuclear dump, given half a chance, I reckon, Will.
100%. 100%. Now, I don't think that's going to fly with the residents either, who, for the record, aren't big fans of the big Scotsman. So if you are someone who thinks it needs to be preserved because it's a proud part of South Australian history, it doesn't make you're not wrong. We'd just like to hear from you because we can't find anyone yet that is as energised by this as the public perception would lead you to believe. 8223 is the number, or you can text us on the Telstra Storm Barker text line 0448081395. We'll have a bit of fun with that after 8:30. Much more serious issue is the ongoing dispute between the state government and the Ambulance Employees Association. You were down south on the weekend. I was down south on the weekend. There was a huge influx of people that were everywhere from Aldinga to Victor Harbour, and there was going to be incidents at the beach. There always are. A long weekend, a lot of people there. Well, there was one such incident that did claim a life. A scuba diver died at Encounter Bay down near Victor Harbour. It took 25 minutes for the ambulance to get there. Usually takes 8 when all things are operating as they're meant to. They're not operating as they're meant to. And Phil Palmer joins us now. Morning to you, Phil.
Good morning.
So what was the allocation of resources that led to this scenario on the weekend?
Well, I don't want to talk about the case itself
Sure.
because there's a grieving family on the end of that, and it got out over the weekend because media arrived there before the ambulance crew, actually. And so I understand that it's pretty tough for the family, so I won't touch that particularly. But when I hear Lucas saying there's a surge, it makes my blood boil. There was a surge, all right, a surge of population to all the major rural centres around South Australia. It was Easter, for goodness sake. It was post-COVID Easter. People were pouring out. Adelaide became almost a ghost town as all these Victor Harbour and the Riverland and the York Peninsula had influx of tourists, and so the numbers were up everywhere, but not numbers up of ambulance crews. No planning by the ambulance service. Just let it happen and see what goes on. York Peninsula, for instance, 1 paramedic for the whole York Peninsula, 1. And right up the other end at Wallaroo, there's a crew on the daytime and not the night time. Victor Harbour's only got 2 crews, one of which is a patient transport emergency support type crew, and the other one is paramedics. So this is, I've also heard Mr. Lucas blaming the AA because we haven't got staff. I think it needs to be made clear to all your listeners that the government had a report. It's called the ORH report. It's a consultant report that recommended more than 150 more ambulance staff nearly 3 years ago. No strings attached to saying that's what was needed. The government's done nothing about that. And now at this end of the scale, when things are happening, unfortunate and tragic things are happening, the government's saying it's our fault. Well, I think that's a deflection and deception, frankly, and they need to get off their high horse, put aside their pride, and make South Australia safe.
Phil, when we had Mr. Lucas on, he was talking about the fact that the ambulance management themselves, with the support of the government, want to change the rostering arrangements now to get rid of the 12-hour roster and to have 8 or 10-hour rosters. And they say that would give them more flexibility to fix some of the shortfalls. Why is the 12-hour roster? It seems to be a bit of a sacred arrangement for your members. Why aren't you prepared to give any ground on that?
We've got strict instructions for our members, so it's not what we personally think. It's what our members tell us. But the 12-hour roster gives them 4 days away from the job, so 4 days on, 4 days off. The nature of the job, the high psychological impact of the job is valuable to them to have 4 days away. The other thing the government's not saying, if it reduces the hours, it's reducing coverage. They'll need a lot more than their small number of staff they're offering if they're going to reduce hours, because that's actually less paramedic hours. So it's smoke and mirrors from them, frankly. We have said we're prepared to look at other roster models, not wholesale change, but certainly new staff coming on could work a different array of roster models which would cover shortfalls and other gaps. They know that. This business of the 12-hour shift has suddenly emerged as a smokescreen to the government's failure to act 3 years ago. There was no mention of this 3 years ago, and they had the submission before them, and they should have funded it then, and we wouldn't be in this position now.
Phil, to what degree are emergency department capacities and ramping at major hospitals a contributing factor to these sorts of scenarios?
Oh, it's a strong factor. Probably 50-50. I haven't got the numbers in front of me. It certainly does impact on the already scarce resources, but it's not the only problem. It would be wrong to characterise ramping as the only problem. The problem for us is ramping and the fact there's not enough ambulances, even if there wasn't ramping.
Where is the dispute at, Phil? Can you see any chance to sit down with the government and actually reach an agreement?
Well, we'd like to. We've offered that. We offered that 2 years ago as well. Met with Wade and Marshall and Lucas saying, let's look at things, including roster reform. So we've actually put it up to them already 2 years ago. They went silent on it, and they just fought us in the court case saying, well, we don't want to fund it. And that was their argument put forward by their QC. Well, the government just doesn't want to fund the new resources. So that's the argument we had. This 12-hour shift and crib break arguments come up more lately when they suddenly realise they've got to cover up their failure to act 2 years ago.
Phil Palmer, the head of the Ambulance Employees Association, thanks for talking to us this morning. Cheers.
24 after 8. Let us know what you think. 8223 0000 or text us on the Telstra Storm Outback text line.
Got one here from Julie. He says, my parents spent their wedding night at the Scotty's Motel in 1959.
Oh, yeah, well, good.
What about that? Well, you think romance, you think a giant fiberglass Scotsman, don't you?
It's worked for some.
Quite a few bands have stayed there over the years. I've read articles by a notorious punk band from Austin, Texas, whose name I won't say on air, the something or other Surfers, and their lead singer, Gibby Haynes. I read this article once. What's the weirdest place you've ever been in the whole world? He said, Scotty's Motel.
25 minutes after 8. Andrew says, in Perth over Easter, there were same problems with ramping and overcrowding in hospitals, cancellations of elective surgery, Labor paradise not delivering. Yeah, I'm not necessarily sure that there's any side of politics that's got a mortgage on issues in the health system. I think but the primary concern to everyone listening is that they get fixed. Like, I think there are some of these issues that are above politics. People just want these systems to work and are less concerned with who's ultimately running them.
One here from Glory in Aldinga Beach. She says, here's a solution to ambulance ramping. Get serious about assaults on medical staff. Stop calling all drug addicts mental health cases. Call them what they really are and take them to a prison cell in a police car instead of clogging the supply of ambulances that should be available for the genuinely sick and needy.
Yeah, I vote for Glory's idea.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
Yeah, not mind that at all. 8223 0000 is the number, or 0448 08 1395. That's the Telstra Storm Outback text line.
Had an accident? Some insurers don't offer unlimited not-at-fault car hire, but Amy does. Just give us the other driver's details. So instead of being on a bus squished next to a bodybuilder listening to... oh, heavy metal. Lovely. You can enjoy a hire car. Just you and the open road. Go with the doers. Amy does. T's and C's apply. Benefit stops when you get your car back or we settle your claim. Before buying insurance issued by AAI Limited, trading as Amy, read the PDS at amy.com.au.
Hi, I'm Sam Martin from Goldsborough Financial Services. In times of uncertainty, it's important to know who to trust. Getting the right advice before making any major changes and having a clear understanding of your investments is paramount. At Goldsborough, we've been guiding South Australians for nearly 30 years and will make your first meeting as easy and as transparent as possible. Whether it's over the phone, via video or in person, we'll make the time to get to know you. Check out goldsborough.com.au for more details. Goldsborough Financial Services, AFSL number 225330.
Taking time to listen can make all the difference. Farrell & O'Neill Funerals is a South Australian family company committed to guiding and supporting families at an emotional time. We value a lifetime by offering a compassionate, caring and unique service with attention to the smallest detail. Finding guidance through a difficult time can be comforting. Farrell & O'Neill Funerals, 8296 3134.
G'day, it's Eddie May here from NRG Solar. If you've postponed your overseas trip, whether you plan to sun yourself on the deck of a cruise ship or hang out on a tropical island, you can still make the most of the sun and invest in solar panels. It's a smart move because you'll actually be getting a great return on your investment. And with the money you've saved, you'll be able to take an even better holiday. Say bon voyage to your power bills forever. Visit nrgsolar.com.au or drop into our showroom on South Road at Richmond.
At Mawson Lakes Volkswagen, we believe that what you want is pretty straightforward. A service department that offers factory-trained mechanics, Next day servicing, complimentary pickup and delivery, wash and vacuum is standard, brake, wheel alignment and shock absorber testing included, complimentary loan cars, breakfast or lunch is on us, and access Wi-Fi while you're waiting. Go online to book your service today and experience the difference. Mawson Lakes Volkswagen, just a short drive from the city.
GoVita Health Food Shops specialise in you, offering products and wellness advice personalised to you since 1987.
Hi, I'm Ali from GoVita Marion and Colonnades, and this month you can find these awesome specials at your local GoVita store. K-Fibre Natural Prebiotic Fibre 100 grams was $19.95, now $15.95, save 20%.
Get these specials and more at GoVita Colonnades, Fairview Green, Marion, Mount Barker, Manopara, Semaphore and Tanunda.
5AA Breakfast is streaming live right now. To watch, simply head online to 5AA Facebook or search 5AA on YouTube. At Bob Jane T-Marts, there's deals for safer holiday driving. Visit bobjane.com.au. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
29 minutes after 8. What to do with Scotty, the big Scotsman at the top of North East Road? Should he be preserved for all time, kept where he is, fired into space? We're going to get into it after 8:30. There's a view that he should be
into space.
I like that's my vote. There's a view that it should be preserved by the History Trust here in South Australia, or maybe kept where it is and protected as some sort of icon, even despite the fact that the hotel itself may be turned into a housing development. Which good luck for those housing prices there when you got a big Scotsman casting a shade into your front living room.
Well, could you turn the Scotsman himself into a unit, or
you could live in the Scotsman?
Yeah, you could have like a little deck there just above his bagpipes, sit out.
Now, there's an idea. That's an idea.
Yeah.
I like that. Nick's got an idea too. He says, my Scottish wife thinks Scotty is terribly embarrassing, so I'd like to offer to house him in our backyard. Well, Nick, good luck with that.
We're see what your neighbours think about it. Having a 20-metre shadow cast over their backyard by a guy holding the bagpipes.
We challenged our listeners that it seemed that no one really cares about the plight of Scotty. It turns out a few people really do. We're going to hear from them right after this.
Don't tell me we were wrong.
Oh, well, it had to happen eventually, didn't it?
This is Adelaide's 5AA.
Sunny and 27 today with the 8:30 news. I'm Mel Usher.
Woken with a stiff neck or sore back? Get a Physio Extra appointment today. 6 locations, physioextra.com.
There were 2 deaths on our roads over Easter. A 39-year-old man was killed after the ute he was travelling in crashed into a tree on Pirates Road at Brookunga last night. The Nairn resident died at the scene. The 28-year-old driver has life-threatening injuries. Senior Constable Dave Muir says the first death on the long weekend happened on Saturday morning.
Police were called to Anglevale Road at Hillier, where a blue Holden utility had been found to have hit a tree. The driver and sole occupant was a 24-year-old man from Mawson Lakes, was found deceased inside the vehicle.
The state road toll now stands at 35 for the year compared to 31 at the same time last year. There will be a court appearance today following a house fire at Para Hills over the long weekend. The blaze happened on Todd Road yesterday morning. A 43-year-old man has been charged. Airlines are preparing for the return of quarantine-free travel between New Zealand and Australia. New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern is today expected to announce the start date for the two-way travel bubble. It's expected to begin within the next 2 weeks. The Tourism and Transport Forum's Margie Osman says it would be an important boost.
This is going to be a big deal. And it's about the confidence factor too, for us to finally have a foreign border open.
Unions say we need a fair level of wage growth to keep the economy moving. The government has asked the Fair Work Commission to freeze the minimum wage, arguing higher labour costs could present a major constraint to small business. The ACTU wants a 3.5% increase of $26 a week. Assistant Secretary Scott Connolly says low-paid workers shouldn't go backwards for the benefit of the economy.
Really calls them out as being supporters of this being a two-speed recovery, one where profits continue to soar, the well-off continue to do better, and those working people, those 1 in 5 workers who rely on the minimum wage, continue to be hardest hit.
Sterilising dummies could be linked to an increased risk of food allergies in young children. Nine's Gail Watson reports on new research.
Close to 900 families were followed for the study from birth to 1 year of age. The findings, published in the Journal of Allergy and Clinical Immunology, found repeatedly using antiseptic to clean dummies over the first 6 months was associated with higher odds of food allergy. But there was no increased risk of food allergy among infants where the dummies were boiled in water, washed under the tap, put in a parent's mouth, or not washed at all for up to 6 months. Food allergy occurs in around 10% of infants and 4 to 8% of children in Australia and New Zealand.
LG is walking away from mobile phones, abandoning plans to launch rollable and flexible mobile technology. The South Korean tech giant has a 2% share of the global smartphone market. Now turning to 5AA Sport.
Who loves South Australia as much as you do? Fluorio Milk Company. South Australian and proud of it.
Round 3 is over, Tom Wren.
It certainly is, and the Crows and Port Adelaide, they're sitting inside the top 8, which is good news with 2 wins from their opening 3 games, Mel. The Power sitting in 4th place while the Crows are in 8th. Geelong moved up to 7th after a hard-fought 5-point win against Hawthorn. Cats coach Chris Scott said ex-Hawk Isaac Smith was ill and almost missed his first game against his former club.
I don't want anyone to feel sorry for him, but he only just made it to the line. He was ill in the last couple of days, and that kind of added to the pressure a little bit for him. And we didn't treat it like another game. We treated it like Easter Monday, a big occasion.
South Australia holds a 119-run lead with 1 day to play in its Shield clash against Victoria. The Redbacks will begin the final day at 5 for 151. 2 games in the A-League yesterday, with Melbourne City's hot run of form continuing with a 3-2 win against Wellington, and Western United's within touching distance of the top 6 after beating Newcastle 1-0. 2 games in the EPL meantime, with West Ham 3-2 winners against Wolverhampton, while Everton and Crystal Palace shared the points in a 1-1 draw. The World Surf Tour's Newcastle Cup is back underway following 3-day lay days over the Easter weekend. Aussies Keely Andrew and Macy Callahan have just advanced to the round of 16. And in some golf to finish, he's never short on confidence, and 4-time major champion Brooks Koepka is backing himself to win the Masters just 3 weeks after having knee surgery. He's got the runs on the board. Be fascinated to see if he can do it. Mel, that is the 5AA Sport.
Now checking 5AA traffic.
Dave Potter, Australia's #1 Honda dealer, 2nd year running. DavePotterHonda.com.au.
Smashes this morning, Ranella, Southern Expressway, Young Street, affecting Citybound, Glenside, Greenhill Road, Conningham Street, also around there, Greenhill Road, Unley Road, a burst water main in the city, and another smash, Henley Beach Road, Fulham Park Drive in Lockleys. With half off select flights, plan your full-on holiday at Australia.com or book with your airline or travel agent before they sell out. Terms and conditions apply. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Now the 5AA forecast.
Audi Solitaire, Metro Dealer of the Year. Visit AudiSolitaire.com.au.
Sunny today for your Tuesday, 27, sunny tomorrow, 28, 31 on Thursday. Right now it's 18 degrees. More news as it happens on 5AA.
At Bob Jane T-Marts, there's deals for safer holiday driving. Visit bobjane.com.au. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
23 minutes to 9. In a moment, we're going to be joined by History Trust Chief Executive Greg Mackey. He wants to find a new home for Scotty at Scotty's Motel, who will have to be surrendered as part of what will potentially eventually be a new housing development. That's what the site is being earmarked for, and already there are the Scotty's people that are clamouring for him to have a new home, be preserved, be a feature of the new development, whatever it might well be. We weren't sure that any of these people actually existed that were passionately in defence of Scotty.
No, there's a groundswell.
But clearly there is a movement out there, and we're going to hear from some of them in a moment. There's a few texts that are coming through on the Telstra Storm Out Barker text line.
Quite a few, and a lot of people singing from the same song sheet. Both Jimbo and also Vic have said that Scotty should be turned into a float in the Christmas pageant. That is a terrific idea.
Oh, no, I could get behind that.
He'd look like Gulliver being erected. You'd need all the ropes. What are they called? The Lilliputians?
Oh, there's
lifting
an
him up.
idea.
That'd be terrific. Stacey says Scotty has to go into orbit, a combined project where we use SA's first rocket, the Sky Floater, to launch him.
See, now
that's terrific, Stewie.
It's a nice meeting of South Australia's past and present. it's Scotty's, and now we're the home of Australia's space program. It's natural.
Karen's on side with us. Morning, boys. I say bugger the big Scotsman. And what about the big Father Christmas? He's
I don't know
an
if we've
Adelaide
said
icon.
that.
Putting no, it's just a turn of phrase there, Will, I think. Karen says the idea of bolting the Scotsman to the side of the Central Market is completely stupid. Someone suggests that he could be put on top of the Chinese consulate in Joslin.
Oh, now, I mean, who makes the rules around here?
Well, exactly.
Bernice speaks for a lot of listeners on Twitter. Tweet at 5AA Breakfast. I'll be disappointed if Scotty's moved. It's been there ever since I was a child, and we look forward to seeing it. When we come to Adelaide, it does mean we're nearly at the end of our journey.
I tell you what, it's attracted the attention too of our federal parliament. The member for Adelaide, Steve Georgianis, has texted saying Scotty should be retained. It's an Adelaide icon. There are plans by the state government to fix the bottleneck at the intersection. They should be able to incorporate Scotty into their future plans and retain him in the area.
Or in the area. Maybe. So it's the position of the federal member for Adelaide that he should be kept in the area.
Well, he could be in the middle of a roundabout or,
directing traffic.
Stick him on Anne Moran's front lawn.
Greg Mackey's the Chief Executive of the History Trust. Greg, where do you think, or what do you think the future of Scotty should be?
Good morning, guys. Good morning, listeners. I have memories of Scotty from journeys back from Port Broughton since I was a little kid. And I know that there are hundreds of thousands of South Australians who regard it as a significant landmark, something of a tongue-in-cheek. It is slightly whimsical, it's slightly kitsch, but not everything that has historical significance need be of the high end of things. Popular culture is just as important a part of our stories and of our past and indeed of our present and future. I'm very much in favour. Firstly, my preference would be that it remains in situ, but if circumstances with regard to future development meant otherwise, then as has been reported in today's paper, I've made contact with the owner of Scotty's Motel, Mrs. Shopov, the lovely, lovely old lady, and indicated that should a relocation be warranted or required, that the History Trust of South Australia would welcome the opportunity to be gifted it, and we would ensure its preservation and conservation and future display in a suitable location.
Can I ask you, Greg, a philosophical question about history and the History Trust?
Sure.
Is everything that's old necessarily good?
Of course not. Not everything that's old carries with it the same level of affection or even antipathy. You don't have to love something for it in order for it to be significant. Look, this is just a poll of one, not speaking for myself. I do regard the Australian obsession with big things to be a very valid aspect of our popular culture, and it's just as deserving of preservation as was Big Santa, who you might recall adorned above the veranda of Johnny's, and then later David Jones when it was built on that same site, and now lives in storage most of the year, but pops out at the Central Market on the front of Federation Hall for each festive season. These things are part of our identity, part of our memory, part of nostalgia, but it doesn't mean that they lack significance.
Would it be possible? I think you've floated the idea yourself, Greg, to somehow hoist and bolt Scotty onto the side of the marker as per Father Christmas. Is that an idea that's in play?
Yeah, look. Just to clarify, I haven't suggested that it be bolted to the outside of the Adelaide Central Market. What I have suggested is that it would be a suitable location, given the very substantial floor-to-ceiling capacity inside the market, and of course the future redevelopment of what is currently the Victoria Square Arcade. That site, there will be a very, very large vaulted space, and it's the kind of place where climate is a little less harsh on perishable materials. And of course, Scotty is made of fiberglass and paint and foam, and therefore it is exposed to ultraviolet radiation when out in public, out in the environment. There are places including, our hope for 40 years, and this is the History Trust of South Australia's 40th birthday year. Our hope is to one day see established an Adelaide Museum of South Australia's history, because we have fabulous museums, fabulous collections, but we have no one dedicated place that tells the bigger set of stories about South Australia.
Greg, thank you.
Interesting.
Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Greg Mackey from the History Trust. I think you've hit on something of a winning idea, though, David, with the idea that bolted onto the side. Because the Central Market redevelopment is going to make it a much grander building. There's going to be a lot more space.
I just think it's incongruous they putting it on the market. I mean, you put Father Christmas there at Christmas time because it's a high visibility area.
I disagree.
What possible link is there between a fiberglass Scotsman and the Adelaide Central Market?
Well, they're icons, David, that's why. So what we could do with the new big multi-storey building is put the rocking horse on there.
But it's not a shelf for bric-a-brac. It's a building that sells food.
We could put the lobster on there. I think we could put all the big stuff on the side of the Central Market building.
Bring the horse down from Loberthorpe.
Bring the horse down, that's what I'm saying.
The rocking horse.
The mall's balls.
Big Banana could go on tour from Coffs.
Just put it on the side of the
building.
1
week only.
We should have one giant building that's full of big stuff hanging off of it.
Look like my grandma's mantelpiece. Little rocks with eyes.
We've got some big Scotty...
ceramic beagles and their pups.
Scotty Truthers have called in. Mary in Flagstaff Hill, good morning.
Now listen, Will, I'm not much use either. You're going to get rid of me. You're going to get rid of every Scot in South Australia. I tell you what, the place will be empty.
Hey, Mary, I'm married into a Scottish family, so I can't possibly do that. That would be
You can't be too bad then, can you?
I'm not all bad, just mostly bad.
Good on you for giving him a serve, Mary.
Good on you, Mary. Thank you. Well, I thought we are talking about the big plasticine man, aren't we? We're not talking about the actual entire population of Scottish people.
That's right.
In which case, I understand how it could have been seen as quite offensive. Tyson in Clarence Gardens, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Yeah, look, my friends actually painted that about 4 or 5 years ago, and it took a lot of time, a lot of effort, big scaffold, everything like that. But the actual tartan that's on there now is for the family that own it. It wasn't originally done properly. It is now. But my idea is, why can't we just give it to the Scottish Club in Adelaide? Put it out the front there.
True. That's true. Do you know where they're located, Tyson?
No, I don't.
But there would be one, Scottish Club.
Yeah.
There'd have to be.
That's a great idea. Put it in Hallett Cove.
Cove?
Huge Scottish population.
Yeah, that's true.
South of the
our very own Andy.
Exactly right.
Andy Rusian.
It fits the bill. He's as our Scottish-born contributor to the program, not a big fan of Scotty. He's happy with me saying.
Maybe he feels it's cultural appropriation.
I think that's right.
Yeah, like the old concrete Mexican in the front yard. I reckon a lot of Mexicans would look at that and think, well, how did I turn into a garden ornament?
Julie in Manningham, good morning.
Good morning, boys. Now that you said he's made of fiberglass, my comments sound a bit silly.
I'm sure they don't, Julie.
No, look,
share them with us anyway.
Growing up, anywhere we went with Dad to drive, are we going past Scotty's? Are we going past Scotty's? I know that sounds trivial, but it was a big thing back in those days, and I don't know. I think, couldn't they open a Scottish restaurant, sell haggis?
Oh,
put him on the top.
Oh,
hey?
I'd be there in a shot. I love that stuff.
What about
That's
that?
a great idea.
Yeah, black pudding.
Well, that's what I reckon.
The square sausage.
What are they called? Neeps?
Black pudding.
Neeps for turnips? Is that the word?
Julie's hit on something. I think that's good. Excellent work, Julie.
Haggis.
Tim Whetstone says, as to the big stuff on the central markets, you could roll the big orange down from the Riverland. I think there's something in this idea. I think it's possible.
About half of South Australia's politicians have thrown themselves into this one.
Oh, Ian's got a great idea on the Telstra Stormount Barker text line. Ian says, put Scotty inside Burnside Shopping Centre where the tree used to be. Mind you, if anyone can kill Big Scotty, it'll be Burnside Shopping Centre, won't it? Rosemary, good morning.
Hello, you two naughty people. You need to go well, I think you must be adopted, so I think you need to go to cultural school for a little while.
Yeah.
Now, it's not to do with the motel as such. It's always been called Scotty's Corner.
It has.
You're talking about something. Everyone says, oh, on Scotty's Corner. Now, opposite, by the way, best of luck in them building units there. It's going to create a bottleneck on that corner. They knocked down this beautiful old house on the opposite corner, thinking they were going to sell it and make money off it, and put an industry in there and everything, and it's still vacant. So leave well enough alone and leave Scotty's Corner. It's a landmark. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And yes, that gentleman was right. It was painted a few years back because it used to be blue and red tartan, and now it's gone back to the original red and blue tartan. So you two from down south or from down on the beach, get some culture into you.
Good on you, Rosemary.
What about
Scalding.
that? She's played the O'Sullivan's beach card there.
That's right.
You plebs wouldn't know anything about culture or history.
Andrew and Craigmore, good morning.
Oh, g'day, guys. I love a couple of great suggestions there. I've got two. Either the parklands or on the Adelaide City Council.
Yep.
Yeah.
Certainly couldn't put it on the parkland.
I think Scotty might actually win a seat on the Adelaide City Council. Graham, what do you think of it?
Oh, I've never heard so much rubbish. It's an eyesore. It's absolute eyesore. It's got nothing to do with Scotland Park where it is. Yeah, ever since my childhood, I've always gone around the corner and asked my father, why is it there? It's awful.
Good on you,
Graham. There's no sense of art. And who's that guy from the Historical Society?
That's Greg Mackey.
Tell history?
Yeah, well, different theories of
But
history,
look,
I
as
guess.
a suggestion, just to get rid of the bloody thing, the Caledonian Hotel in North Adelaide, ideal.
Yeah, there's a good
that's
idea.
true.
Graham, thank you.
We could move it to the brewery side and make it part of the development there. Someone suggested that one of the local distilleries should take it. Surely there could be some little micro brew.
I think they've got rid of all the stuff from next to the brewery site. Thor and the rest of the characters that used to be there.
Well, speaking about mangy Adelaide icons, crikey, there's some stuff
Oh,
out...
no, I'll defend that.
Oh, what? Seriously?
Yeah.
A lot of that stuff looks like it's held together with rubber bands.
Oh, I think that's part of the charm of it, isn't it?
So you're going in a bat for the whale that came loose and floated down the Torrens.
I am. I'm here. I'm
You'd
here
happily
for it.
consign the Scotsman to the dustbin of history.
Ah, yes, Scotsman, seriously. Leon Biner, good morning.
How are you?
Good, thanks, Leon.
Maybe the Scotsman can play the bagpipes in James Place and get rid of any riffraff. You know, you laugh. You know what happened a few years ago in the city? It was decided that there were too many apparent vagrants congregating in that space, so they put up speakers and played polkas and got rid of them.
That's right.
Do you remember that?
I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
really?
You know, so now, see, fumigation's changed since years ago. You can now use polkas to get rid of people.
The chicken dance drives people out.
Yeah. Hey, listen, after 9 this morning, I'm going to talk about this odd suggestion, I should say outrageous, that we should play a flood levy.
Mm.
Who decided to build on a floodplain? And why should we pay for their errors? I've got an expert on this. You'll love what he's got to say. I'll see you after 9.
On you, Leon. All right, let's check traffic. Thanks to Dave Potter, Australia's #1 Honda dealer, second year running, davepotterhonda.com.au.
North East Road, OG Road, Clemsiga Smash. Another one, Anglevale Road, Dalkeith Road, Hillier. Southern Expressway, Young Street, Ranella. That one's still affecting City Mail with delays. Henny Beach Road, Fulham Park Drive, a 2-car smash, Lockleys. Specsavers is giving everyone with health cover $50 off lens options like smudge-resistant polarisation and more. Offer ends April 28. Conditions apply. Adelaide's most accurate traffic on 5AA.
Don't just get a forklift, get a Toyota forklift. When you need a forklift, don't just get a forklift, get a Toyota forklift. Get the world's #1 forklift brand. Get legendary Toyota reliability, get world-leading safety, and get it from toyotamaterialhandling.com.au. Get the Toyota Forklift Advantage for sales, service, and hire. Get a Toyota forklift.
So you've got a will. That's good. But do you know where it is? Or when it was updated last? Have your circumstances changed? An old or poorly thought out will can leave problems for your family and those you love. And it can be expensive to sort out. Don't let that be your legacy. From the simplest to the most complex wills and estate plans, you can trust Donlan Lawyers to help carry out your wishes. Wills and estate planning? Visit donlanlawyers.com.
Know what's kick-ass? Getting out there and exploring the great outdoors. And the right gear can make it really kick-ass. For quality four-wheel drive and camping gear, use kick-ass products. Available only at australiandirect.com.au.
The next phase of COVID-19 vaccinations is now underway across South Australia.
This phase includes healthcare and high-risk workers, people 70 and over, adults with underlying medical conditions, and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. COVID-19 vaccines have proven safe and effective around the world, so play your part and roll up if it's your turn. To find out if you're eligible and to locate your nearest clinic, visit covidvaccine.sa.gov.au.
A message from the Government of South Australia.
Moving day-to-day business from this
You have 8 missed calls.
to this.
Great, so I'll see you at 3.
It starts with a business mobile plan that helps you work on the go. Search Optus Business today. Great business starts with yes.
9 News, weeknights at 5, nightly at 6. The switch is on to the news that's live and local. 9 News, made in Adelaide.
At Bob Jane T-Marts, there's deals for safer holiday driving. Visit bobjane.com.au. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
6 minutes to 9. It's that time of the morning where, thanks to Aussie Fast Transport Solutions, interstate freight, distribution, warehousing and local Adelaide couriers, call Aussie Fast 13 13 64. We go behind closed doors.
And when we get behind closed
13.95, Adelaide's 5AA. This is the Saturday Sports Show. KG and Cornsey.
Hi folks, welcome back to the Saturday Sports Show on a beautiful Adelaide day. KG is here.
Hello, Stanley, I'm here. What a glorious, beautiful day. Why would you want to be anywhere else, Stud?
Well, you won't get on a plane, so you won't be going anywhere.
No, I won't. I will never get on a plane ever again in my life.
Really?
Really, I will never fly again. I hate it, Stud.
Why are you so nervous about flying?
Well, I just am. I'm not getting on one because it's better to be sure than safe.
You mean safe than sorry?
Yes, well, I think that's what I meant. I do like expressions, but I never feel the need to get them word perfect.
Or even close.
Correct, mate.
Have we had a good Easter?
Oh, fantastic, Sully. Everybody will be up and about today feeling fantastic.
Well, not if they've got a hangover.
Well, even if they have, Stud, think of the fun they had getting the hangover.
You can't say that, Ken.
Can't say what?
That people have fun getting a hangover.
No, what's wrong with that?
Well, it promotes the misuse of alcohol.
Oh, just because you don't drink, Stud, don't muck it up for the rest of us.
I'm not mucking it up, I'm just trying to not break the rules.
No, what rules?
It clearly states, Ken, in the Australian Commercial Radio Codes of Practice, Item 2.1, Paragraph 2.1a, that a broadcaster shall not present as desirable the misuse of alcoholic liquor.
You're good, aren't you, Studley?
Well, I'm just trying to point it out to you. I don't want you getting into trouble.
Well, what you failed to mention, Studley, and if you had read further down the page, you would have seen item 2.5, which says, nothing in item 2.1 prevents a broadcaster from using such material if it is presented in an artistic manner for the purposes of comedy or satire or in the public interest.
Well,
this show is clearly comedy and satire.
Yes, but is it in the public interest?
Yes, good point.
All of that is true.
Yeah. Is it?
Yeah.
Should really sit down and read that one of these days.
Hey, don't joke. You can't joke about that.
No, exactly.
In fact, I think David's only
was a
joking
joke.
about the code of practice for the purposes of satire
Yeah,
and
that's right.
comedy.
Exactly.
He 100% knows all the rules.
Exactly. I'll tell you what, this Scotty thing's going off. One here, stick Scotty at Outer Harbour. He can be our next lighthouse beacon.
That's a great
What
idea.
about that? Have, like, the lights coming out of his eyes or out of the end of his bagpipe.
Like a beacon. Welcoming you home.
Good. I mean, we do need something to celebrate our Scottish heritage. I mean, this is the home of Bon Scott, the most Scottish song ever written.
Yeah.
It's a long way to the top.
Maybe, in fact, the answer to the question is we need more big fiberglass things.
Well, I did suggest to Steve Georgianis that they should have a look at the Big Greek somewhere.
Yeah.
Because the Greeks have done, a huge amount of contribution to us.
Everyone needs a big thing.
Yeah, absolutely. The what are they called? They got those lovely pleated skirts. The Greek military.
You want a big one of them too?
Well, you'd have to put it in national costume.
Did you invest in a fiberglass factory sometime recently?
This is called insider trading. I'm sure there's something in the code of conduct about that.
At Mawson Lakes Volkswagen, we believe that what you want is pretty straightforward. A service department that offers factory-trained mechanics, next-day servicing, complimentary pickup and delivery, wash and vacuum is standard, brake, wheel alignment and shock absorber testing included, complimentary loan cars, breakfast or lunch is on us, and access Wi-Fi while you're waiting. Go online to book your service today and experience the difference. Mawson Lakes Volkswagen, just a short drive from the city.
When people walk through the doors at Powell's, the first thing they say is wow. Not only because of the size and the selection, but also because of the team. Sam and Jamie have tasted every drop. They and their team can recommend a whiskey that's just as good as that hard-to-find Japanese one, if they don't have it, that is. Or a beautiful red that's reminiscent of that outstanding cellar door you once travelled so far to visit. Parafield Airport Liquor Store. Powell's, next to Roulette's Tavern, Kings Road, Parafield.
Taking time to listen can make all the difference. Farrell & O'Neill Funerals is a South Australian family company committed to guiding and supporting families at an emotional time. We value a lifetime by offering a compassionate, caring and unique service with attention to the smallest detail. Finding guidance through a difficult time can be comforting. Farrell & O'Neill Funerals, 8296 3134.
This week at Foodland, South Australian Southern Rock Lobster. Catch this special, just $64.99 a kilo, till April 6th while stocks last.
Foodland, the mighty South Aussies, yeah.
Hey, do you invest in shares?
Yeah, I started a few years ago.
So where did you get the confidence to start a share portfolio?
I WEA'd it.
With new courses going up every week, you can WEA anything. wea-sa.com.au.
At Bob Jane T-Marts, there's deals for safer holiday driving. Visit bobjane.com.au. You're listening to 5AA Breakfast. David Penberthy and Will Goodings.
Right on 9 o'clock, we're out of time on this Tuesday morning. Enjoy another wonderful Adelaide day. And stay listening to 5AA because Leon Viner is coming up in just a moment.